sanitary pads and panty liners in South Africa continue. The department spokesperson Kasia Silala says the public will be informed as further verified information becomes available. He says his department is engaging with the University of the Free State to strengthen and assess current regulatory frameworks that govern menstrual health products and also strengthen quality assurance.
The department views menstrual health and sanitary dignity as a critical component of gender equality and public health. In addition, the department welcomes the call made by the National Consumer Commission to initiate an investigation and a regulatory review process that will assist in ensuring that menstrual health products are safe, affordable, and accessible.
Recapping the top story, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned there could be more casualties during the ongoing military strikes on Iran. 3 American servicemen were killed yesterday in an undisclosed location during their deployment to Iran. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it is cricket action. The Proteas are through to the T20 World Cup semi-final. South Africa will face New Zealand. And we also bring you Casey Jarvis. He's won his maiden SA Open golf title. All the details at around 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start with some rain across parts of Gauteng. Certainly the M1 through Mid-Rand looking wet and slippery. That plus Monday, new month volume is going to be a busy one coming out of Pretoria and out of Joburg. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through those conditions. We do have a crash. It's on the N12 westbound at 4 Trekker Road. Watch for that on your way to the Reading interchange area. And the N1 North has a breakdown inside the Diepkloof or just before Diepkloof interchange. So coming through from Lenasia, Eldo's up through Devlin. That's likely to be busy as well today. Durban, a crash still with us on the N2 northbound just past the Higginson Highway. Then a breakdown further up. Blocking a lane near the M7 highway on-ramp. Cape Town, very slow already on the M1 inbound from Brackenfell through Belleville territory. M7 out of Mitchell's Plain, queuing up towards the R300. That looking heavy. Looks like might be some traffic light issues there. And protesting on the southern side of Umtata this morning. The N2 blocked at least a couple of locations between central Umtata and Ultra City. Any plans to travel through Umtata? Do it later today rather than this morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 7 minutes after 6. Today is Monday, the 2nd of March, 2026. Live and direct from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, this is SAFM 104 to 107. The world you're waking up to this morning is significantly different from what it was when you went to bed last night. And that's because key news and current affairs developments here at home, on the African continent and around the world have continued to shape, carve and contour your world with every passing minute. And that's our raison d'etre. That's our very reason for existence. Why we get here bright and early each weekday morning to fully brief you on those developments as you start your day. Good morning, folks. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Let's get started. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours, there's an expression loved by journalists, particularly broadcast journalists, credited to Vladimir Lenin. It says there are decades in which nothing happens, and then there are weeks in which decades happen. While we as journalists have a penchant to abuse this phrase and throw it about, even in circumstances that don't really rise to the magnitude of seriousness that it intends to capture, there can be very little doubt that it is an expression coined for events such as what is currently transpiring in Iran and the broader Gulf region. The killing of the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in U.S.-Israeli strike has plunged Iran into its most profound political crisis since the 1979 revolution, removing the man who, for 36 years, sat at the apex of its military, religious, and political power. Tehran has declared 40 days of mourning, installed an interim leadership council, and vowed retaliation, with President Pezeshkian calling the assassination an open declaration of war against Muslims, and the Revolutionary Guard promising revenge across the region. In fact, inside Iran, there are signs of both defiance and uncertainty about succession, while Israel's leadership has framed the strike as a decisive blow against what it calls an axis of evil. Over the weekend, confrontation spreading well beyond the borders of Iran, with missiles coming from Iran and drones targeting U.S. and Israeli assets from Qatar to the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and a number of states really in that region. And Israel reporting 9 people dead in Beit Shemesh, while Gulf states closed their airspace and convened emergency talks. So it's a lot that has happened and transpired in the last 48 hours or so. So what we will do is we'll have 3 takes on that story. We'll speak to Naeem Jina, a senior researcher, humanity at MISTRA. That's the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Then we'll speak to Guy Leach, aviation analyst. So Naeem Jina at about 20 past 6. Guy Leach at about 10 past 7 to just unpack the ripple effect on the global aviation industry. It's a major disruption. If we love the Gulf region for its strategic hub advantages for aviation, when that choke point is actually disrupted, the ripple effects are felt globally. So we'll speak to Guy Leach at about 10 past 7. 20 past 7, we'll speak to Amir Bahrioromi, who is an Iranian national. I think we've spoken to Amir actually some time ago. He'll be reflecting on what has transpired in his home country in Iran. So that's coming up at about 20 past 7. Then a little later in the program, we'll be unpacking, in fact, in the first hour of the program, we'll be unpacking what activists are calling obstetric violence and why they took to the streets on Friday in what they dubbed a Laundry Day march. Baby clothes were hung up outside the Department of Health as a stark reminder that for many women, childbirth in this country is marked not by dignity, but by fear, humiliation, or even coercion. A coalition led by the Embrace Project has handed over a detailed memorandum demanding a time-bound, properly funded action plan from Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. They want legal recognition of obstetric violence as a distinct legal harm, independent investigations, better staffing and training, and real accountability for abuse in maternity wards. They say this is a thing experienced by many, many women who have suffered in silence, and therefore they want it to be lifted up as an area of priority and policy intervention. So we'll ask what meaningful reform would look like, and whether government is prepared to treat this as a systemic crisis rather than a series of unfortunate incidents, right? Isolated incidents happening here and there within the health system in the maternity wards. So at about 10 to 7 this morning, I'll speak to Julie Mento, who is project lead at Embrace, the movement for mothers, and also organizers of that Laundry Day march. They called it Laundry Day because they said they're airing the dirty laundry of obstetric violence, the violence and abuse that happens in maternity wards in the public and the private sectors. That conversation coming up at about 10 to 7. Lastly, let me tell you about this. The battle for control of the country's national lottery enters its final stretch, with businessman Sandile Zungu declaring that nothing will stop his consortium from taking over in June. But this is about far more than scratch cards and Powerball draws and the likes. The lottery is a multi-billion rand engine that funds charities, sport bodies, and community projects. And for years, it has been dogged by allegations of political interference, governance failures, and questionable grant allocations. When Sizekaya Holdings was named preferred bidder last year, I think you'll remember that, investigative reporters raised questions about alleged links to the deputy president, Paul Mashatile, sparking fierce denials and a legal challenge from the outgoing operator Ituba. Now, with the courts having dismissed Ituba's urgent bid to block the handover, the countdown to June the 1st is well underway, and the real question is whether this transition marks a clean reset for public trust or simply another chapter in a long-running saga over who really benefits from the country's lottery billions. That conversation is coming up at about 8:10, and credit to the Sowetan because it was sparked by a podcast episode that they broadcast. So I'll speak to Fundis Tebe, non-executive director at Sizekaya Holdings, at 8:10. Morning brief team, to your stations please for the takeoff, and Musa is good to go. She'll give you news updates at the top and of every hour and quick headlines at the bottom of every hour. Zaikan will rub salt to your wounds if things didn't go your way on the sporting front this past weekend, and will color in your victory lap if your team was victorious. She's got your updates across the 3 hours. Melissa Buta completes your picture with the morning brief in brief, and Dowling Lechela will probably have one of her busiest days, right? Because with everything that's happened over the past weekend, the markets globally, it's just jitters all over ahead of the resumption of trade in global markets. And of course, it's a thumbs up from Sipho Mantula as well, who will take you on a quick whistle-stop tour of the continent and her diaspora with his Africa update. Your calls complete the conversation. Give me a call on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The first hour of the morning brief starts now.
When music meets nature, something unforgettable happens. Symphony by the Water, a world-class live music experience set against the breathtaking beauty of Midmar Dam, featuring the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, Spogazi, the Black Lapels, Saturday, the 7th of March, 2026. Day tickets from 150, evening tickets from 350. Tickets available at WebTicket and Pick and Pay. Symphony by the Waters, where sound flows.
When it comes to world-class exhibitions and event solutions, one name leads the way: GL Events South Africa. From concept to completion, we transform ideas into exceptional experiences, delivering seamless events for conferences, exhibitions, business functions, and more. With global expertise and local insight, we provide innovative, sustainable, and turnkey event solutions you can trust. Partner with the industry leader. Partner with GL Events South Africa. Visit gl-events.co.za.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's get it started on this Monday with Melissa Buta, who's got the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. South Africa watching the situation in the Middle East very closely, and I suppose trying to assist South Africans in the region who are caught up in that situation.
Good morning. Yes, Thulasizwe. So the South African Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, is monitoring the situation in the UAE and Gulf region after U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran prompted Iran's retaliation, temporarily closing UAE airspace. Travel in and out of affected countries is currently impossible, with diplomatic missions reviewing evacuation plans. Flights between South Africa and the UAE, including Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Air Arabia, have been disrupted, leaving hundreds stranded. Fires from missiles impacts were reported in Dubai, causing injuries and minor damages. President Cyril Ramaphosa called for restraint, warning the escalation threatens regional and international stability. South Africans traveling to the Middle East are advised to check flight status and stay in contact with local diplomatic missions. So quite a lot is happening. So people are warned to be careful during this time.
So your next story is quite fascinating, Melissa. I didn't think this was an issue at all. I suppose you don't know unless you are in that situation. The spelling of names in the Khoi and San languages for purposes of IDs, birth certificates, and the likes?
Yes, so for the first time in South Africa's history, birth certificates, smart ID cards, and passports can now reflect Koisan traditional names, including those with special characters. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber handed over the first smart ID with a Koisan name to a Stellenbosch University student who has struggled for years to obtain documents correctly reflecting his name due to IT system limitations. The upgrade follows changes to the Department of Home Affairs system to accommodate special characters used in Koisan language. The move forms part of a broader digital transformation drive, which has also seen record smart cards issuance in 2025 and aims to phase out the more fraud-prone green barcoded ID book. So for those who are wondering, his name does have quite a lot of characters. I'm not sure how you say it, but it does start with an exclamation mark, and it's Ikuboap Lawrence, for those who are wondering.
All right, great attempt at that. Thank you for that, Melissa. So the renaming of towns, Graf Reinet to Robert Sobukwe, that's coming up against serious opposition, is it?
Yes, so the planned renaming of Graf Reinet to Robert Sobukwe town has sparked strong opposition from residents, with thousands marching in protest and wearing hands of Graf Reinet t-shirts. Sport, Arts and Culture Minister Gaten McKenzie approved the change in honor of Robert Sobukwe, founder of the Pan-Africanist Congress, who was born in the town. The decision has been gazetted with objections opened until the 6th of March. Opponents, including the Democratic Alliance, argue the move is costly, poorly consulted, and decisive, especially amid ongoing service delivery challenges. Legal action and public petitions are underway to challenge the decision. So still quite a lot of tug and pull with this one. So we will have to see what happens after the 6th of March.
Melissa, thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with your morning brief on this Monday morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, there's one impact-based warning. It's a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over Gauteng except the extreme southern parts, southern Mpumalanga except the extreme southwestern parts, central and eastern parts of the northwest, the extreme southwestern parts of Limpopo, as well as the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of roads, bridges, and low-lying areas, as well as damaging winds, excessive lightning and hail resulting in and damage to infrastructure and settlements. That's the one warning that we do have. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, Johannesburg, Vereeniging, Mbombela, and Polokwane will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers. Pretoria starts at a minimum of 18 and ends at a maximum of 29. Johannesburg, 16 to 27. Vereeniging, 16 to 28. Mbombela, 20 to 27. And Polokwane, 16 to 27. Mahikeng and Vryburg will be partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers. Mahikeng will be at a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 30. Vryburg, 15 to 32. Bloemfontein and Kimberley will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. Bloemfontein will be at a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 31. Kimberley, 14 to 32. Uppington, Cape Town, and George will be fine, and Uppington will start at a minimum of 17 with a maximum of 34. Cape Town, 15 to 24. George, 13 to 23. Gqeberha will be partly cloudy, becoming fine during the day with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 24. Gumpo City, formerly East London, will be cloudy with isolated showers and rain in the morning with a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 24. Durban, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 22 to 26. Richards Bay, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 22 to 26. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog. Otherwise, it will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 22.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges. Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3. This February, love staying informed. As your day winds down and the evening begins, Primetime News moves to a new home. Weekdays at 6 p.m. The stories that matter, the context you trust, the news that connect you to South Africa and the world. Because loving what you watch also means trusting what you hear. Primetime News is weeknights at 8 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
25 minutes after 6, the killing of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a joint U.S.-Israeli strike has plunged the country into its most profound political crisis since the 1979 revolution, removing the man who for 36 years sat at the apex of its military, religious and political power. Tehran has declared 40 days of mourning, installed an interim leadership council and vowed retaliation with President Masoud Pezeshkian calling the assassination an open declaration of war against Muslims, and the Revolutionary Guard promising revenge across the region. Inside Iran, there are signs of both defiance and uncertainty about succession. Let's speak to Naeem Jina, Senior Researcher for Humanity at Mistra. Good morning to you, Naeem, and thank you for your time. In your own words, how do you capture the significance and the import of the moment we've lived through over the past weekend?
Well, I think it's a very scary, very frightening kind of moment that we're living in. We have a situation where you have two countries engaged in negotiations, where the mediator says we're almost at a deal, and a few hours later the one party launches a war against the other, together with the third party. No basis in international law, completely illegal under international law. It's a very scary moment. I mean, it gives license to all kinds of actors all over the world to basically do whatever they like to whoever they want, without, with complete impunity. I think it's a very scary moment, not only for that region, but for all of us. The assassination of Khamenei is, just one part of that whole thing. I don't think that Iran has been plunged into a political crisis. They've been, in a sense, planning for Khamenei's death for a while. He's old, so he could have died at any time. The Leadership Council has already, as per the Constitution, has taken over the role of the Supreme Leader. They will elect another Supreme Leader, possibly when the war is over or sometime. But it's not a kind of political crisis. They're not leaderless. Yeah. They have multiple centers of power, and they continue to operate.
I'm wondering your interpretation of what it means, though, inside Iran itself, and a bit later on we'll speak to an Iranian national for their own understanding of the situation, because the United States, and I suppose the United States, let me stick with that, are highlighting the scenes of people that they say were celebrating the killing of the Supreme Leader. But at the same time, we know that we've seen also visuals of people who are mourning him and those who basically feel hard done by the killing of the Supreme Leader. What does it represent politically in Iran?
Look, clearly within Iran there is opposition to the system, to the establishment, to the regime. And so, Donald Trump, the U.S. president, quoted that there were chants of celebration that night. I'm pretty sure that that's correct. I'm sure that there were people that were chanting in celebration, but there were tens of thousands of people out on the streets in mourning. So, to focus on some chance in the middle of the night as compared to that is a bit disingenuous. The people who are out on the streets mourning fully support the revolution. You saw the scenes, support the regime, and so it's not the kind of thing that the U.S. and Israel would like to believe. Chanting in the middle of the night is not a case of mass mobilization. There has been no mobilization against the regime over the past 2 or 3 days, and I doubt very much that will happen. Iranians, even those who are opposed to the regime in general, are very nationalistic. And if they feel that the nation is under attack, they will stand up and support that nation, even if they don't necessarily support the regime.
Lastly, Naeem, the spread of this conflict beyond the borders of Iran into multiple countries where strikes have been launched by Iran, some intercepted, some with casualties. That's been the one element that I think many people are grappling with, because you're talking here about a mix of countries in terms of their leanings thus far and relations with Iran thus far. How do we explain that spread?
So, from the Iranian rationale, two things. One is that they had warned beforehand that if the U.S. were to attack Iran, that they would retaliate by attacking American bases in the region. So that's what they started with. That has now broadened a bit. And the second one is that they're hoping that through these attacks, the countries in the Gulf region will put pressure on the Americans to stop. But I think it's now gone even beyond that. Hezbollah has now, from Lebanon, entered the fray. The Ansarullah in Yemen have said that they will be joining in. Last night there was an attack on the protests, an attack at the American embassy in Iraq. So I think it's gone even beyond that. For the Iranians, this is an existential issue. They believe that if they lose this war, then all is lost. And so they're pulling out all the stops. I think that we're going to see over the next few days much stronger hits against particularly Israel, perhaps less in the other countries, but definitely Israel. Last night we saw unprecedented missile strikes, new weapons being used, etc., and I think that that's going to escalate.
All right, Naeem, thank you for your time this morning. Naeem Jina is Senior Researcher for Humanity at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Let's go to N. Musa, standing by with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the Israeli military has ordered residents of at least 50 Lebanese towns to move at least 1 kilometer away. Israel has carried out heavy airstrikes on the Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs of Beirut early this morning after the Iran-backed group launched missiles and drones towards Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is expecting a new witness to take the stand this morning. The commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa following allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi last year. And the Kamudire Mulema District Municipality in the northwest intends to approach courts in a bid to recoup money from suspended municipal manager Alan Lusaba. This after the Auditor General issued a 4.6 million rand certificate of debt to Lusaba in November last year. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Tricky morning to negotiate across Gauteng. Wet weather conditions, plus we're back to work Monday and we are back at the start of a new month. That means a lot more volume around and a lot of crashes, dings and dents, bumps and shunts happening so easily in this weather. Here's an example. If you're coming out of Pretoria, crash N1 south at Rigel, crash N1 south at Botha, crash N1 south at John Foster. 3 collisions along that route. Also, not to be outdone, the N14 coming out of Pretoria has a crash between Jean Avenue and Brockfontein. So very heavy leaving Pretoria, N1 multi multiple crash scenes, N14, that single crash, but that's enough to back things up. Also, once you get into the mid-Rand section, it stays pretty heavy as well, with a couple of breakdowns on the way towards a new road, and just backing traffic up with a high volume back to Old Joburg Road already. Also, crash at Galulis, the N12 and R24 routes through the rain, heavily backed on your way to Joburg. N12 back into Craft Road, the R24 back through the Edenvale exit. Collision on the N12 westbound around the Voortrekker Road exit in Alberton, but everything coming in from the south is pretty heavy. N3 from Sprayview, R59 up from Moranvale into Alberton towards Michelle Avenue's heavy, and the N1, N12, Potch Highway onto the M1. That's a disaster through the rain from Lenasia up through Eldorado Park on the N12 through Deadman's Bend up to Deep Cliffs. There's a broken down vehicle in that big volume back to work Monday. If you're coming in from Lenasia, you might want to think about a reroute through Soweto or down through Aikenoff and Kibler Park this morning. A Durban crash on the busy Hunt Stepman Highway up towards Wiltshire if you're on your way to Pinetown. That's very slow going. The Richmond Road out of Marion Hill looking busy as well on your way to Pinetown. And Cape Town, no traffic lights. M7, Jake Scoville Drive at the R300. Some big traffic out of that side of Mitchell's Plain. And protesting blocking the N2 through central Mthatha this morning. Plenty of protests at various sites. A good idea to postpone any travel through Mthatha till later today rather than this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning, Zai. So you allowed yourself to be threatened that you shouldn't lead with a certain story that happened on Saturday in a way, a sequel. I was on air when this was happening, South Africa, Zimbabwe. It had me a bit anxious, but in the end, the outcome was good.
Good morning, Tulas. You know I don't threaten, I report, eh? So I've already been threatened.
No, I heard you being threatened. Don't you dare lead with that story. But yeah, fine, yes. I will get to it anyway. We'll just start somewhere else.
Let's start somewhere else for now. We give equal opportunity. This time we're talking Proteas and their coach Shuki Conrad pointing to the Afghanistan clash as their toughest test of the ICC T20 World Cup, admitting the tournament could have taken a very different turn had the result gone the other way. He was speaking after South Africa's 5-wicket victory over Zimbabwe in their final Super 8 match, which extended their unbeaten run to 7 games heading into the semi-finals.
Yeah, I thought that Afghanistan game was massive in many respects because it could so easily have not gone our way, and then the pressure is really up on us against New Zealand. And in some sort of way, it really pulled the group together. And with regards to the question, I don't know, we just go about our business normally. We play some really good cricket, so you can't go looking for things that aren't there. I still feel that in the field, maybe we can create a bit more opportunities. Our catching has let us down a little bit. But, yeah, I don't want to be ultra critical now. We're playing some really good cricket.
Let's go to soccer. Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis says she's proud of the gallant effort shown by her youthful side despite missing out on the COSAFA Women's Championship title against Namibia. South Africa went down 2-1 in extra time to the Brave Gladiators at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium yesterday.
Once again, I say we create so many chances. I mean, in extra time, we hit the post. Lorna either side of the goalkeeper, then it's a goal. And we got caught with a sucker punch, you know. But, they gave everything that they had. I'm very proud of the group. They were magnificent today and magnificent the whole tournament. And I couldn't have asked for a bigger effort from them.
For more soccer, Mamelodi Sundowns remain locked level with Orlando Pirates at the summit of the Betway Premiership after a 3-1 win over Sekhukhune United at Loftus Versfeld. And we also bring you news from the English Premier League. Manchester United climbing to third after a 2-1 comeback win over 10-man Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. And golf, Casey Jarvis claimed the South African Open title in Stellenbosch, closing with a composed 67 to finish 22 under par. The 22-year-old's victory secures him places at both the Masters and the Open Championship. And finally, motorsport, Marco Bezzecchi has won the season-opening Thailand Grand Prix from pole position, while defending champion Marc Marquez retired with a tyre puncture. That's your morning brief sport. Check back top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
All right, let's say good morning to Ndauling Lechela for the first update of the morning. Sure, Ndauling, what do I even say? I sent you a picture over the weekend. Did you see it?
So it's been such a hectic week. I mean, weekend. It feels so long, but it was actually over 2 days. My goodness.
And that picture had to do with the expectations for when markets open, right? It is a picture of, how the internet is very creative. Plates stacked inside a cupboard with a glass panel where you can see through what's inside the cupboard. And these plates have started falling, but the only thing keeping them in the cupboard is just the door that is closed, saying that when markets open on Monday, you can only imagine what will happen. How have we started, for example, in Asia?
In Asia. So what's been happening to us, it really is red across the board on that front, with markets there facing the heat of conflict between the US and Iran, which started over the weekend, bringing geopolitical risks back in focus. And this saw many traders move into safe haven assets. While markets are in the red, we aren't seeing major losses. The last time I checked, the Hong Kong Hang Seng was just down over 0.5%. The Japanese Nikkei down a similar margin as well. And then maybe let's look at how markets closed over on Friday, starting with the US. It was red across the board on that front as risk appetite waned towards the end of the week. The mood slightly different here at home, with the JSE closing in the green, the all share up 1.5%, fueled by a 4% jump in the Resi 10 as PGM prices continued to rally. Over in currencies, the Rand losing momentum this morning due to, of course, that risk-off mood on the back of a higher oil price. It's at 16.05 to the dollar, 21.59 to the pound, and 18.93 to the euro. Now we can get into, the real news of the day.
So what I will do is I'll ask the team to share that picture, because I don't believe I did
Yes,
justice.
we're not doing it justice.
In describing it. It captures aptly what the expectations were ahead of the opening of markets globally. At the same time, we're seeing a disruption to the international aviation sector, and that's because that area, that Gulf region, is a major hub for travel to different parts of the world, yeah?
That's right, Tulas. Naturally, we are starting to see different industries flagging risks related to the conflict over in the Middle East. Airlines are among the first. Renewed military strikes in the region have forced multiple carriers to suspend or reroute flights as safety concerns mount. Airspace over Iran, Iraq, Israel, and Kuwait has been largely empty over the weekend, and the EU's aviation regulator has advised airlines to avoid the affected zones. Major carriers including Lufthansa, Air France KLM, British Airways, Emirates, and Qatar Airways have suspended flights to key regional hubs such as Tel Aviv, Dubai, and Doha. Now, flight disruptions caused by closures are forcing rerouted journeys, driving higher fuel consumption and creating delays expected to continue into this week. Passengers also facing cancellations and longer travel times as airlines closely monitor the situation. I'm sure I've seen online on TikTok, on Instagram, where you have some passengers, some who are stranded at the airport, some that are stuck at their villas, not knowing what to do as the tensions over in the Middle East continue to escalate. Now, looking at the stock Asian trade, we saw carriers including Qantas, Singapore Airlines, and Japan Airlines all trading in the red.
Yeah, in fact, we are asking people to send voice notes if you happen to be listening while in those countries that have been affected by this fighting. Do send us voice notes to share your experiences and your own sense of, fear and perhaps what you're doing at the moment to try and see that you live through it and try to get back home if you're trying to get back to South Africa, as well as, friends and relatives who are out there. Do share with us your stories. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note, 0614 104 107. Lastly, Ndauling, the markets, how did we close on Friday and how are we opening?
Well, we
Oh, you
recapped on
just
the markets
did.
at the
Just
top,
did.
so we can
It's
talk
a
about
Monday.
oil. We can chat about oil.
It's a Monday, darling. It's
It's a
okay.
Monday. It's a Monday. So we can look at what's been happening in the oil market with those tensions escalating. And I think what's surprising is that just days ago, there were reports suggesting that US-Iran talks had been constructive and would continue. And then within hours, we saw major military action, including the killing of Iran's supreme leader. Now, that shock sent oil prices surging up close to 5% close to $76 a barrel. The focus is now firmly on the Strait of Hormuz, a critical artery for global energy supplies, where any disruption to shipping raises the risk of a broader supply shock. Now, even without a formal blockade, the mere threat of interrupted flows has pushed oil prices sharply higher. The bigger issue is what sustained high oil prices mean for the world. Higher oil feeds into fuel costs, lifts transport and production expenses, and ultimately pushes inflation higher. For central banks already balancing weak growth and sticky prices, a prolonged energy shock could impact or complicate the policy path moving forward.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndawling Lechela with the first update of the morning. She'll be back just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. I saw your message late last night. You wanted us to reflect on the events happening in the Gulf region in the Middle East with an African perspective, inspired in part by your reading of from the pen of Daniel Makokera.
Indeed, Thulas, refreshing morning in Jambo Africa as we are entering the Human Rights Month, Thulas, the Miriam Makeba week. Very important week and a month, Thulas, for South Africa. I can see government will be launching this month, Thulas, looking at 30 years, the Bill of Rights, at 30, making human dignity real. But let's look at this conflict and its impact, Thulas. The issues is that you'll know, whenever there's a conflict, I'll always look at what I call a military history and a theme of the operation. Now you have two names here, Operation Epic Fury, Operation Lion's Roar, Thulas. Coming from Israel is the Lion's Roar, from the US, Operation Epic Fury. But what it makes for Africa is the geopolitics of it, the cost of human lives, the issues around what Africa will have to pay here, but at the same time, what Africa can gain, Thulas, because once you are going to have a maritime shipping route affected, Nigeria, Angola, will always be key in terms of the oil supply. The second aspect, Thulas, that will look beyond the geopolitics is the role of the BRICS countries and the role that many member states, including South Africa, they've been issuing statements since over the weekend, Thulas. So you can see the impact of this conflict, looking at bilaterals among African member states that they have with Iran. And that's where, Thulas, as you say, looking with the lens of the veteran journalist, I think he has captured it very well, Thulas, when he's raising what I'll call the bread and butter issues. Once you have this conflict, the oil prices will go up, the food prices will go up, there will be many challenges, and that's where Africa has to be resilient, Thulas, and stand on this. You can have Security Council resolutions, emergency meetings, but it is important for Africa not to lose focus, despite what I'll call our missions to us in the United Arab Emirates. Now they are activated, and that's where they have to assist all our people who are stranded in all those international airports since the conflict started on Saturday.
Let's talk about the Congo, Sipho, not the one that we always talk about, but the Congo, the Republic of Congo, Brazzaville. They are headed for elections, and they're coming up next month.
No, Thulas, they're happening this month. I think you're still on the February mood. You're still on the Valentine and this State of the Nation. Thulas, they have started campaigns on Saturday. Congo Brazzaville decides. Remember the 82-year-old Denis Sassou Nguesso is extending his decade in power now, Thulas. The vote is expected on the 15th of March. So we'll be closely looking at Congo Brazzaville, as you said, a neighbor of Democratic Republic of Congo. The current sitting president, you can say, the longest serving after Paul Biya, has been in office for long, the same like Obiang Nguema from Equatorial Guinea. Those are elders that are called veterans in political office to last for long. But these elections are important in Congo Brazzaville. We will closely monitor what will happen in Congo Brazzaville.
And an update from Haiti, Port-au-Prince. It's very hard to plan for an election while we're in the throes of gang violence that we've been reporting on over the last few months with intervention of various countries in the United Nations. But plan for an election is exactly what they are doing.
Thulas, it's what they are trying, but you'll recall since the assassination of President Juvenal Moise 5 years ago in 2021, it has caused tension in that country. The displacement of 1.4 million people by the gang violence. But the Electoral Council over the weekend saying that they are opening from today until the 12th of March what they call inscription for political parties and their candidates. So in our language, you might call it nomination to last a process being open. But whether those elections will hold on or will be held to last is still a doubt. Looking at that, the interim president since 2025 has not been coming clear about the electoral calendar. But Haiti is in a serious challenge to last. The UN has been having the police and the peacekeeping mission there, but it has not yielded to us, and that's where we see that a country, that island that has been very clear about fighting slavery for more than 200 years is facing this political gang violence, and the elections are now on the wings of the wind or on the sea of the waves to us.
Lastly, Sipho, your historical archives, 2 chapters that you want to open. The 2nd of March, 1996, and the other one is the 2nd of March, 1918.
This one of today is that 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela, the late, visited and addressed the parliament in Mali, the capital city of Bamako. And there he thanked the people of Mali about their role they play in assisting South Africa. He also raised the issue of what I'll always call the soft power lending to us, the political, the economic, but cultural diplomacy between South Africa and Mali. And also in that meeting, in that parliament briefing, he also raised the issue of many challenges still facing the African nations. I think 3 decades ago to us, we are still facing all those challenges. And Mali is out of ECOWAS, it's the Sahel. I don't know what will be the relation of South Africa with the Sahel. As you see, Ghana is moving towards Burkina Faso in most instances. Finally, to last 108 years, the University of the Land, UNISA, was officially opened and replacing the then University of Good Hope. That university to last was 1873. Now, for them to change it to the University of South Africa, it was on this day when it was gazetted. In 2000, the University of the Land also merged with Technikon SA and also Vista University Distance Education Component, and it still retained that name of University of South Africa. Asante sana Thulas, as was still leading a true conversation, SFM, observing the Shabilanga Masaka month and Miriam Makeba week.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update on this Monday morning.
Every day, Rand Water's underground pipelines run through servitudes across the country, carrying millions of liters of water to our communities. But when people build too close, it's called encroachment, and it's very dangerous. If a pipeline bursts, it can flood homes, destroy property, and in many cases, people lose their lives. That's why Rand Water marks its servitudes with blue and white beacons, a clear warning to stay clear and safe. When we protect Rand Water's servitudes, we protect our communities too. Rand Water, finding new ways.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3, beloved.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a crazy busy Monday morning, particularly across Gauteng. Some really big traffic this morning. Crash scenes all over the show. 3 of them on the mighty Mopani Highway between XX and Bremer Streets, all the way out of Shossenguve. It's heavy. A big spillover onto the M35 Soutpan Road. Motorists that know what's going on the R80 are just diverting down the Soutpan Road into Ondersteport. So both routes very heavy. Plenty of action on the M1. Crash scenes before Rigel and again at John Foster. That traffic starts around Sefaka Makato in Montana, all the way down to Brockfontein. Crash on the N14 coming out of Pretoria. Down towards Brockfontein interchange, the backlogs there as well. On your way to the airport, a collision on the R21 by Pomona Road. Heavy backlogs through Benoni exit back towards Bupsfontein Road. Very heavy from the south end, 12 in from Lenasia to Diepkloof. R59 from roundabout sort of Vartval area up to Michelle Avenue. Very heavy coming in from the Vaal. Traffic all over the N12 and R24 routes with a crash at Galulis. Both of those routes heavy the closer you get to Galulis. Interchange Durban, a collision on the M4 near Himalayas Road. That's the M4 coming up off the N2 from Monzamtoti, splitting onto the Southern Freeway. A whole pile-up of traffic that way this morning. M13 from Hillcrest into Pine Town onto Fields Hill, very busy. M7 up into St John's Avenue Bridge territory, slow go as well. Cape Town, a breakdown on the R300 North at the N1, so heavy traffic coming up from Cales River on that R300 towards the N1 highway. And big traffic all over Stellenbosch Arterial this morning. Traffic lights down Blackheath side at Range Road, but then you just stay in that traffic up to the R300, then it gets heavy coming through Delft and Belhar onto 35th into Bishop Lavis. A lot of traffic on that run through this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me quickly take a few of your voice notes that have already come through. Someone listening to the weather and me referring to East London as Gugompo City was triggered and wanted to ask why there's no opposition to that name.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. If the people of Grafrinet want to petition the naming of Grafrinet into Robert Sobukwe, if they're opposing that, I wish the people of East London can also do that. How can they accept the name of Gompo? Doesn't make sense, that name. And to say the narrative that the waves, when they hit the rocks in East London, they make that Gompo sound. It's far-fetched. You know, I just want to go to London to listen to those waves saying, Gompo, Gompo. There's nothing like that. Oh, man. Gompo. And I even started to name Minister Gaten Mackenzie. I mean, I'm calling him, his nickname for me now is Gompo. Because he's the one who came with this name. Gompo. Gompo. Oh, my God. Thank you, Thulas.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you killed me. Well, I don't even know what to say in response. The thing is, while the names have been gazetted, we're told that makes it official, but people can still oppose, as the people in Grafrenet are doing, opposing it after it's become official. And I've used the name of Louis Trichard in Limpopo as an example, where it became official, but, you know, people were able to oppose it successfully, and it went back to Louis Trichard from Makado, right? Because processes were not followed. So I don't know the extent to which people don't like the name. You are saying you're not in East London. What if the people of Gugompo City actually like the name? Because there were public processes and we don't know how many people participated. And this is the price you pay when you don't participate. You're hoping that someone will show up on your behalf and oppose it, and you don't show up. Then you're stuck with Gombo. All right, let me take one or two about the situation in Iran and the broader Gulf region.
Hey, to us and all SAFM listeners, a very good morning. Well, I have been following the events leading to this war between Israel, US, and Iran, and I have been following since the start of the war. And the numbers that we are given really do not add up with such an ongoing barrage of missiles targeting all U.S. bases. The reports say 5 or 3 are dead, yet Iran says over 500 soldiers have perished. That's Andile from Stexford in the Eastern Cape near Sutu border.
Andile, thank you for that. Yeah, I suppose, truth is always the casualty, the first casualty of war, right? None of us are getting the full picture from either side. But the other element to factor in there is that many of these countries have air defense systems where you see the missiles and then they're intercepted. I've seen 1 or 2 in the videos that are being shared that actually after the interception, the fragments still landed and still caused a fair amount of damage. But factor in everything you are saying, the air defense systems that will say you may fire hundreds of missiles and drones, but if they're intercepted, perhaps the damage is not what it is. But truth, always the first casualty. We're not getting the full picture from either side. Let's go to N. Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Israeli forces launch strikes on Lebanon and the SACP eyes full ward presence in local government elections. Good morning. Loud explosions have been reported in the Lebanese capital Beirut as the Israeli military begins hitting targets belonging to Hezbollah. This comes after Hezbollah said it fired rockets and drones into Israel in response to the killing of Iran's supreme leader. The BBC's Joe Floto has the details.
The chief of staff here in Israel has said that Hezbollah has opened a new front against Israel. So the IDF are taking this as an opportunity to attack a wide range of targets. We're hearing from Lebanon that the south of the country has received a number of airstrikes, and inside Beirut, probably more than a dozen targets have been struck. And the IDF saying that they have killed what they describe as senior terrorists this morning.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has warned there could be more casualties during the ongoing military strikes on Iran. 3 American servicemen were killed yesterday in an undisclosed location during their deployment to Iran. He says the members are true patriots.
CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more.
Back home, a new witness is expected to take the stand this morning at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. The commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa following allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi last year. Mkhwanazi accused some SAPS officials of colluding with criminal syndicates. He also accused the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, of unlawfully disbanding the political killing stars team. Sibahle Mota reports.
The Matlanga Commission continues under Phase 2 of its public hearings.
Those who have been implicated under Phase 1 are now before the Commission responding to the allegations. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, General Sharik Sibia, are among those who have testified before the Commission. Mchunu has been accused of unlawfully disbanding the political killings task team, while General Sibia has been accused of being in bed with members of the alleged criminal cartel. Both have since denied corruption allegations made against them.
The SACP says it's making good progress in its preparations towards this year's local government elections. The Communist Party will be contesting elections on its own after taking a decision that it will not back its alliance partner, the ANC. The party held its two-day Lukhotla this past weekend with discussions focusing on a range of political, economic, social and international matters. The SACP spokesperson Mbulelo Mantlana says the party intends to contest every available ward in the country.
We are underway with our manifesto development processes. We are way above 70-80% in terms of putting up our election structures. We are fine-tuning whatever other structures that are necessary for us to effectively be part and parcel of the organizations that are going to be on the ballot. Now, as to whether or not we will have full representation in practically every ward, that is something for us that will be proven by the realities on the ground. But our intention is that we will.
The Ngaka Mudire Mulema District Municipality is initiating legal proceedings to enforce the recovery of 4.6 million rand from suspended municipal manager Alan Lusaba. This after the Auditor General issued a certificate of debt to Lusaba in November last year due to his failure to recover funds from an overpaid water tanker service provider. The municipality says it's failing to locate him. Executive Mayor Kumalo Mulife.
It has been very difficult. We have not enjoyed the cooperation we expected, so much so that in some instances we had to seek the services of the sheriff just so that he can see the draft agreement. To this date, we have not succeeded in locating him. We are working on the clear ultimatum of the Auditor General, and therefore we have taken the settlement agreement. We are now taking it to court to make it an order of the court so that we are able to enforce it.
Meanwhile, a local government expert from the Northwest University, Arthur Shupola, says the municipality might garnish his pension.
In the case that they cannot be able to trace or they do not know where the affected official is, they might decide to garnish his pension because this certificate actually affects the individual employee or the municipal manager. These are the consequences of his decisions in his capacity as the municipal manager. The process itself actually setting a precedence, a very good precedence for whoever that is going to take over as the municipal manager.
Recapping the top story, loud explosions have been reported in the Lebanese capital Beirut as the Israeli military begins hitting targets belonging to Hezbollah. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding the last parking spot at the mall. 45-year-old Jason saves an unbelievable 520 Rand on his 2025 Hyundai i10. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer Orlando Pirates coach Abdusalam Wadu is still savouring his emphatic 3-0 Soweto derby victory over Kaizer Chiefs. And in cricket, the Proteas coach Shukri Conrad said his team fully focused ahead of their T20 World Cup semi-final against New Zealand. We'll have the details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, very heavy all over Gauteng with wet weather conditions greeting Monday back to work and high volumes being a first Monday of the month as well. Major delays coming out of Pretoria, N1 south from Montana all the way down to Brockfontein. Crash on the N14 south going into Brockfontein out of Pretoria as well. The N12, a collision at Galulis, that's heavily backed up from Jet Park this morning. Plenty of traffic coming in from Lenasia, Protea, Deepcliff, and the N1 from Soweto all the way around to Rivonia, very heavy. The Mike 1 Boysons right through to Corlett Drive on your way to Santon, very slow. R59 dreadful coming up from Clip River Drive through to Michelle Avenue. There's lots of traffic going very slow. Durban side, the M13, Hillcrest downfield till into Pinetown sluggish. The M7 up into Pinetown, St John's Avenue, very slow as well. Crash on the M4 inbound at Meerwen. That's being cleared up. That traffic that was slow coming in off the N2 North has all basically cleared up and normalised. Cape Town this morning, 35th Avenue, very slow going traffic coming in off Stellenbosch Arterial. That run in from the Belhar side in towards Bishop Lavis, very slow going. And the highways, well, there's a breakdown on the R300 at the N1, so big queues from Delft all the way through to the M1 at Brackenfell. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 7. Let me just tell you briefly what's coming up, because we do have quite a fair amount of ground to cover within this half hour. We'll talk to Guy Leach, aviation analyst, talking about the ripple effects of the closure of the airspace above many Gulf countries. Remember, those countries are international transit hubs, right, and connect various regions of the world, and therefore any disruption in that region, those hubs, will have ripple effects across the world as far as flights are concerned. So Guy Leach will unpack what we are seeing playing out. Then Amir Bagerioromi, a strategic communications and campaigns specialist, who is also an Iranian of Iranian descent, will talk to me about, how, as an Iranian, he's reading the developments that are happening in the country. As I said, you've got one report that says there's widespread jubilation at the killing of the supreme leader, but at the same time, we've also seen those visuals of many, many people who are mourning the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. So what is really, at least we get a snapshot. It's not the full picture. Amir doesn't represent everyone, but it's always important to hear the authentic voices of people with links to that particular situation. And so Amir will talk to me and give us at least one perspective from Iran. What we did then is also move the interview we were meant to have at about 10 to 7 about obstetric violence, the march that took place on Friday. So we'll do that also within this half hour with Julie Mento, project lead at Embrace, the movement for mothers, also part of the organizers of what was called the Laundry Day March, which happened on Friday. Your calls 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
In 2025, Liberty paid out 48 million Rand in education cover claims to 755, meaning
so many kids still went to school?
Correct.
Even when the dog ate their homework?
Yep.
What if it rained so hard that even fish needed raincoats?
School's still on.
But why?
Because there's no negotiation when it comes to protecting your child's tomorrow, even if you become disabled or pass away. Liberty, in it with you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. T's and C's, risks and limitations apply.
This February, love the truth, no matter how unsettling it is. They were called accidents, a slip, a fall, a tragic mistake. But what if they weren't? Fatal fall, murder or accident investigates suspicious deaths. From balconies, staircases and cliffs. Where one question refuses to go away. Did someone push them? Through forensic science and haunting testimony, the truth is uncovered. Fatal fall, murder or accident. Tuesdays 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
14 minutes after 7, airlines across Europe, Africa, Asia and the Middle East scrambling to manage one of the most severe aviation disruptions in years after US and Israeli strikes on Iran triggered retaliatory missile and drone attacks across the Gulf region. Major regional hubs including Dubai International Airport, Al Maktoum International Airport and Zayed International Airport have suspended or severely limited operations following airspace closures and security incidents. Let's speak to Guy Leach, aviation analyst. Good morning to you, Guy, and thank you for your time. We were watching the situation out of OR Tambo, Cape Town International Airport, King Shaka International Airport. And if the disruptions were looking like this on our shores, I can only imagine what we are seeing on the screens, those apps that you guys watch for the flow of international air traffic.
Yeah, hi, Tracy, and nice to be with you and your listeners. Absolutely, if you go into the apps like Flight Radar 24, it's absolutely extraordinary how a big hole has literally happened in the sky over the Middle East as all flights, don't overfly or no longer fly to the big three Middle East destinations. The big question I'm sure everyone wants to know is, well, what happens to passengers? Well, the key point to remember is that there is a contract of carriage. There's a legal contract. It's all under the Montreal Convention, which airlines and governments have signed, which means that airlines have a duty of care towards their passengers to get them to the destinations and to look after them if they can't, feed them with water and food and so on. However, it doesn't necessarily extend to a hotel accommodation. So all too often in these sort of events, you see passengers having to sleep on the floors in airports. Fortunately, that's not too bad, the situation right now, because I saw a notice released yesterday afternoon that the Dubai government, the UAE government, has agreed to pay for over 20,000 bed nights for stranded passengers. So with any luck, people are not being too inconvenienced or rather too uncomfortable by the whole grounding.
But that's the picture as far as one of the hubs is concerned. But I'm also thinking, Guy, about at source, destinations where much of this air traffic comes from. So I saw a report, for example, talking about Asian countries, India, and the likes. What's the picture emerging out of that? And also given the strategic importance of these Gulf transit hubs for travel towards Asia?
Yeah, you're dead right. You're on the money with that question, because what happened is that the big three airports in the Middle East, particularly Dubai, have become the hubs. What happened over the past 20 or 30 years is that the whole aviation network became what's called the hub and spoke model. And the Middle East hubs were very centrally located to connect both east and west and north and south. So it's so often easier if you want to go even to Australia or to Europe to go through Dubai or Abu Dhabi or wherever else, rather than go direct. And that is why it is such a significant setback to the entire airline connectivity network around the world, that people who would otherwise be traveling from, let's say, England to South Africa are stranded in Dubai. And also, we've seen aircraft, if you look at, for instance, the pictures of, or you look at Cape Town Airport or Johannesburg or Tambo Airport, you'll see, Airbus AC-80s just parked there, or 777s just parked there, because they're also stuck on the ground all over the world, not being able to get back. So the worldwide implications are huge, and we've seen people stuck on the ground all around the world because of the closure of these hubs.
Lastly, how easy is it to recover from something like this? I was thinking in my mind, in recent history, it's the second biggest disruption, I would say, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, after the closures, the massive closures that happened during the lockdowns of 2020 thereabouts during the pandemic. So how easy is it to circumvent that disruption, but also to then resume normal flight operations once the airspace reopens?
You made me think. What is the biggest disruption we've had? My first thought was actually going to be 9/11. We've seen all those aircraft parked on the ground, unable to cross the Atlantic. But obviously, the COVID lockdown must be right up there as well. The answer to your question, how long is this likely to go on for? Well, I'm afraid I honestly don't know how much longer the hostilities are going to go on for. I personally just do not understand what the American-Israeli objective is there, because I don't see them invading. I don't see them putting boots on the ground. I don't know if they're going to get regime change or not. And if they hang on till that might happen, it might take weeks or even months, I suppose, in which case the airports are going to continue to stay locked down. But assuming that hostilities end, I would say it's going to take at least 3 or 4 days, if not a week, before services and schedules can be restored normally.
All right, Guy, let's continue to watch it. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. That's Guy Leach, aviation analyst.
This February, love staying informed. As your day winds down and the evening begins, Primetime News moves to a new home. Weekdays at 6 p.m. The stories that matter, the context you trust, the news that connects you to South Africa and the world. Because loving what you watch also means trusting what you hear. Primetime News airs weeknights at 8 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
You won't believe how much money Outsurance saves 40-year-old Rafiq on his car insurance.
I saved so much money. 899. That's not small change. It's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
That's an impressive saving on Rafiq's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus. How much money could Outsurance save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insuring FSP. TCs and information online.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
21 minutes after 7. Let's get a perspective from an Iraqi national, a person of Iraqi descent. Amir Bagher Yoromi joins me now to take that conversation forward. Good morning to you, Amir. I hope I did a decent job of trying to pronounce your surname, and you'll correct me if I got it wrong. I understand you are of Iranian nationality or descent. Just tell me about your own reflections watching the extraordinary events happening in your country, the strikes that occurred, the background against which they occurred, and now the killing of the supreme leader of Iran.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I did want to quickly make a correction that it's Iranian and not Iraqi.
Yes, I agree.
Look, I mean, it is relatively overwhelming to watch everything that is going on because of the level of uncertainty that it comes with, not only for, the country Iran, but the region and the globe as a whole. I don't necessarily think that the killing or murder of the Iranian supreme leader at this given point give us any certainty as to what is yet to unravel in the region. But what we can definitely agree on is that a symbol of what many people would say anti-imperial and anti-colonial resistance is concerned has been killed in that region, and a lot of people are mourning that he had quite a lot of supporters. At the same time, there are a lot of people who are celebrating that, not only in Iran but in the region and as in the rest of the world as part of the Iranian diaspora. So lots of mixed reactions, lots of mixed emotions for a lot of people.
One of the questions I've wondered, Amir, since I heard the speech by the US President Donald Trump and saying to Iranians that this may be a once-in-a-generation opportunity for you to take control of your country and saying it's yours for the taking, is it that simple? Is what comes next really that cut and dried, or will it be more complex than the likes of the US President are bargaining for?
Yeah, no, I don't at all think it is simple. I have written about this topic on numerous occasions that the Islamic Republic regime that is in power and control of the Iranian government right now are groups of people that came into power through consent and a democratic election that voted 98% in favor of them. This is from 47, 48 years ago, almost 50 years ago, right? So they were in power rightfully so, but one thing that we must, acknowledge and realize is that over these past 5 decades, Iran has not been a politically homogeneous country. It has never been, as a matter of fact, not when it wasn't a republic. Even during when it was a monarch, it was not a homogeneous country. So the division is not simply for me, pro-regime, anti-regime. I think especially with what is happening right now, it's a matter of national sovereignty versus regime legitimacy, right? There's anger at the state, but there's also rejection of foreign intervention. So as much as many Iranians might be opposing the government deeply, there are many who are also against foreign intervention and leaving things to be done leaving things to be done by foreign entities and so forth. So I don't necessarily think it is that simple. I don't think there are, millions upon millions of Iranians that would, go into the street to take over the government. I don't think so. It could happen, but for now, we just have to treat everything with cautious and just watch how this psychological warfare between different extremes in Iran and outside Iran, you know, unpack what is ahead of them.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your insights. Amir Bagher Yoromi, Strategic Communications and Campaigns Specialist, but also of Iranian descent, reflecting on the extraordinary events in Iran.
Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
Right, let's turn to this story, and it happened on Friday. There were baby grows, washing lines and placards outside the Department of Health on Friday, but the message from activists was anything but soft. Under the banner of Laundry Day, Embrace, the Movement for Mothers, and a coalition of civil society groups delivered a memorandum for the attention of the Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, demanding urgent action to end what they call obstetric violence in the country's maternity system. They argue that verbal abuse, forced procedures, denial of care, and humiliation in labor wards amount not just to poor service delivery, but to gender-based violence with life and death consequences for mothers and babies. Let's speak to Julie Mento, who is project lead at Embrace, the Movement for Mothers, also one of the organizers of the Laundry Day protests. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. You are defining this as obstetric violence, and I think you've been raising this issue for quite some time. For someone who doesn't understand what we are grappling with here, what is it that you wanted to highlight with the march on Friday?
Thank you. So obstetric violence is not our term. It's an internationally recognized term because this is unfortunately an international problem that we definitely have in South Africa. I think what we have, it's not a new problem. When we work with women, we hear stories of women who gave birth 20, 30 years ago who are still brought to tears when they talk about the circumstances around their birth. The shame that they feel from how they were treated is still so fresh, even though this happened years ago. So this is a long-standing problem. It's a systemic problem, and it is a big problem. Part of our desire to engage with the National Department of Health is because we are launching the results of a prevalence study that we did in Gauteng and KZN. And the highlight figure is that 6 out of 10 women who have given birth in KZN or Gauteng over the last 10 years have experienced some form of obstetric violence, and 6 out of 10 is just too many women. So the majority of women in both provinces have had some of obstetric violence happened to them when they were seeking trusted maternity care at a time when they were incredibly vulnerable. And that's just simply not okay. We know that the National Department cares about respect for maternity care. They have a policy, dedicated policy that speaks to this. What is needed now is accountability. What is needed now is adequate resourcing. It's expensive to make this happen. We appreciate that, but this is not a fringe woman's issue. How women are made to feel at this very vulnerable time absolutely matters. Sometimes this results in, as you said, death, injury to women, injury to their babies, deep-rooted trauma. And when we talk about any strategy that is involved in prioritizing the first 1,000 days of children's lives, their early childhood development, it really matters how we treat their mothers when they're brought into this world. It's a human rights violation. And as we're saying, obstetric violence is a form of gender-based violence that needs to be urgently addressed.
Yeah, I mean, you're right if you say that this has been ongoing for a very long time. Part of the reason the story resonated with me is that I remember even when I was growing up in Mpumalanga, there hearing stories about how when women would be going through labor pains, some of the staff in the local clinic would be, shouting and hurling abuses at them and basically saying that, it was fun when you were engaging in sexual activity, and now that kind of abuse that would happen.
Yeah.
So it's something I grew up hearing about. But you've got a set of interventions that you believe would make a difference, and you say it starts with legal recognition of obstetric violence as a separate legal harm. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so currently, I mean, this is one of the problems that survivors of obstetric violence are facing, is that it's quite difficult because when they are seeking legal support, obstetric violence is not recognized as a distinct harm within legislature. And so we need to have that change. We need to have it recognized as a form of gender-based violence so that the department and perpetrators can be held legally accountable. So this is really important, that this is not just an experience that's, hard for some people, that this is an illegal violation upon your body. And I think just to point to what you were saying now about how effectively it's become so normalized. One of the things that's so troubling to us as we speak to women is that so many of them have a sort of that aha moment, like, yes, no, that happened to me, or that happened to my sister or my daughter, but I didn't think that was that was just how it goes, and that's what we've come to expect as normal. And so I think if we call this what it is, that this is a distinct harm, it is legally recognized as a distinct harm, then we will start to not only be able to seek adequate justice for those who've been survivors, we will be able to empower women to know their human rights, to know that they deserve better, and that we'll be able to get recourse for those who do experience this, and hopefully as a way to curtail it from happening to other women and actually transform the healthcare system all the way from the top all the way down.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time and your insights. Julie Mento is project lead at Embrace, the movement for mothers, part of the organizers of the Laundry Day protests that took place on Friday. Let's go to Ann Musa, standing by with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. Energy markets opened in Asia this morning with oil prices at their highest for months following US and Israeli attacks on Iran and Iranian retaliation. The 18 accused in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal scandal are expected to return to the Free State High Court for another pre-trial hearing today. The High Court is now expected to set another date for a trial after it dismissed Murwadi Cholota's application that challenged its jurisdiction. And the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services has urged road users to exercise caution due to persistent rainfall across the city. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Full chaos all over Gauteng. It is raining. It is back to work Monday. It is first week of the month. Everyone's been paid and filled up. It's absolutely high volumes in the rain. Just a recipe for real go-slow traffic. That's what's unfolding in front of us. Coming out of Lenasia, heavy traffic. Golden Highway, Nirvana Drive. Roadworks in the rain. It is impossible to get through that junction. Crash on the R21 on your way to the airport by Pomona Road. Quite a big backlog coming down from the Bupsfontein exit. Mike 1 from Gold Reef City all the way through to Grayston Drive. This morning jammed up. Plenty of traffic out of Benoni through Boxburg on the N12, and then more queues, N12 and R24 coming in to Galuli's interchange. N1 south out of Pretoria, queues from Montana all the way down to a crash and a breakdown by John Foster Drive. So really Montana to Brakfontein all the way through this morning. The Soutpan Road avoiding the mighty Mopani Highway, really heavy getting into Ondersteport territory as well. Durban also fairly jammed up all over really. The N2 coming up into Prospectance heavy, and then big queues up through Spaghetti Junction. Breakdown on the southbound going into 4 level, causing some delays as well. M13 Hillcrest to Pinetown, that's very slow, particularly getting into the Kloof area. And Cape Town, Stickland, jam-packed from Old Paarl Road through to Van Riebeeck and Strand and LaBelle and Bottleray. Very heavy getting through there. And no lights, M7, Jakes Heville, R300, delays out of Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, you won't believe what happened just now. You know how quick Zelma is in reacting to things, right? Zelma is awake every day, every morning. She's wide awake. There's no situation where you can say, let me throw a curveball and she won't catch it. She will catch it, technically, right? I asked Zelma to say, to help the Pirates celebrate, let's find the songs Pirates Dumela and see if we can play it. She says it's too late. We can't find it now.
Wow, Thulas. What does that tell you about Zelma? Sabotage in the studio.
It's happening live and direct. Tell me about the Orlando Pirates coach Abdeslam Wadu and savoring this emphatic 3-0 victory against the mighty Amakos.
You know what? While the Pirates fans are celebrating and Zelma can't find the victory anthem, but I know they are singing the tunes this morning right at the top of their lungs, and so is their coach. I mean, he called his first Soweto derby spicy after guiding the Buccaneers to a 3-0 win over Kaizer Chiefs at FNB Stadium. The victory marked a historic 5th consecutive league derby triumph for Pirates in the PSL era and keeps them firmly in the Betway Premiership title race. Elsewhere, Miguel Cardoso is taking a cautious approach with Monapole Saleng's return. The Mamelodi Sundowns coach was full of praise for impact substitute Ikram Reyners. The forward came off the bench to score twice as Sundowns beat Sekhukhune United 3-1 at Loftus, drawing level on points with Orlando Pirates at the top of the Premiership.
So also Ikram, fantastic thing. We are all happy. I think he had a difficult moment. Let's hope he and we understand everything so that we can move forward in the right direction. We support him so much. We believe in all our strikers. I think Lebo has been also doing the moments he goes inside, doing an important job. From the moment he played against Pirates, how he entered and helped the team to press and stay with the ball and not allow Pirates to do damage to us in defense. Then again in the last match and today again. So we're happy, obviously, when players give their best and they have their mind clean so that they can perform, obviously. We trust them all. They know.
Let's go now
to
moments, some exciting developments.
In different levels, in different
This time, the Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis says she's proud of the gallant efforts shown by her youthful side, despite missing out on the 2025 COSAFA Women's Championship title against Namibia. South Africa went down 2-1 in extra time. The 62-year-old mentor adding that despite the disappointment, there were many positives.
They had a lot of chances. I think they had 2. And they took it, and I spoke about taking our chances. We could have scored 3 in extra time, and well done to them. They fought, and we were brave today, but just didn't go our way.
All right, let's go to Proteas coach Shukri Conrad, pointing to the Afghanistan clash as their toughest test of the ICC T20 World Cup. But he was speaking now after South Africa had a 5-wicket victory over Zimbabwe in their final Super 8 match, which extended their unbeaten run to 7 games heading into the semi-finals. Conrad crediting his team for grinding out results even when things weren't going their way.
Yeah, so I think that's the mark of really good sides when things get tough, they're still able to fashion something and eke out the right result. So yeah, I think there's that calmness in the side, especially in the batting unit, that whatever the situation, someone will find a way. And yeah, I say especially the batting unit, the bowlers have been, save for maybe the Afghanistan game, where we leaked so many wides and no balls. Ever since then, I can only but take my hat off to the bowlers and how they've responded. So really chuffed with our all-round game. But yeah, we've got a big task ahead.
And that's your morning brief sport. We'll be back top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAFM.
Oh, shame. Zelma was redeeming herself from that situation. That's what you heard there. All right, let's say good morning to Ndauling once again for the second update of the morning. By the way, Ndauling, are you crying or are you celebrating this morning? Oh, wow. She's crying. It's okay.
Why would I?
It's okay. It's okay. We got you.
Why? I need context.
Haibo, what do you mean context? The derby, the weekend.
Oh.
Are you in tears or in jubilation?
I'm crying because of my family, because they are Chiefs supporters. But generally, I'm okay. But I feel for them. Yes.
Like me, as neutral as sweet.
Oh. Are you okay? Are you well?
No, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm surviving. I'm just fine. Doing just fine. Okay, Sweden is all right. Tell me about government unveiling this smelter support package.
Yeah, so this follows the pressure from the industry, smelters in particular. The Minister of Electricity and Energy, Koisan, on Friday announced an electricity tariff cut of more than 54% aimed at reviving the sector, safeguarding jobs and boosting export earnings. Now, ferrochrome smelters will receive a discounted rate of 62 cents per kilowatt. This is from R1.36. Now, at present, only 11 of the country's 66 smelters are operational at current prices. The plan is expected to bring about 45 smelters back online by the end of the year and nearly 50 by December 2027, creating more than 11,000 direct jobs and supporting over 120,000 indirectly. The move is meant to make local smelters more competitive globally, particularly versus China, where electricity costs are far lower. Now, the package will be implemented through Eskom's debt relief framework to protect consumers, with Glencore and Samencore considering the offer before submission to regulator NERSA.
And tell me about Northern Platinum's expectations for PGM group mineral prices.
So the miner expects platinum group metal prices to remain elevated, with CEO Paul Dunn describing the current rally as a structural shift rather than a short-term spike driven by constrained global supply and firm demand. Now, that backdrop helped the group deliver a strong set of interim results. Revenue surged 60% to 23.3 billion rands on record production and sales volumes. while operating profit climbed to 5.8 billion rands with margins just above 25%. The board declared a record interim dividend of 7 rand a share, further underscoring confidence in both pricing and performance. Costs, however, increased, reflecting higher mining activity, wage adjustments, and electricity tariff hikes, but these were comfortably absorbed, that is, by stronger metal prices. Looking ahead, Northam continues to invest in its growth pipeline, including developments at mines such as Eland and Zondereinde.
Lastly, Ntauling, recap for us how the markets are doing at this hour.
Starting in Asia, markets sinking deeper into the red, with the Hong Kong Hang Seng and Japanese Nikkei both down 1.6%. This as risk appetite waned due to military action in the Middle East, which saw many investors dump stocks for precious metals, increasing the safe haven trade. A similar move stateside, with futures in negative territory this morning. Investors, of course, eyeing developments between the US and Iran, while also awaiting a key jobs print out on Friday. Coming back home, stocks closed in the green on Friday, boosted by higher PGM prices, which fueled the Resources 10 complex up 4%, in turn leading to the all-share closing 1.48% higher. Then over in currencies, the rand is at 16.08 to the dollar, 21.59 to the pound, and 18.94 to the euro. We are seeing broad-based losses when it comes to the rand. Lastly, in commodities, oil is up 5% at $76 a barrel. Investors, of course, worried about oil supply amid strikes in the Middle East.
Dowling, thank you for that. By the way, I give you an assignment. Please find me a better expression than as neutral as Sweden, because factually it no longer holds.
It doesn't,
It doesn't hold anymore, right? As legendary as Sweden's neutrality was, it ended in 2024 when they joined NATO. So I need a new expression. So maybe next hour you can come back with the answer. That's Ntauling Lechela with an update of the markets, business, and the economy.
Catch the season premiere of Color Your Plate this Sunday evening at 7 as 4 hungry home cooks step into the kitchen to reimagine beloved family favorites in bold and unexpected ways. With the return of a Sterling from a previous season judging their every move, only one will earn the chance to progress and cook alongside them in the next round. Who will impress and take the first step forward? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7 p.m, repeat Saturdays at 4:30, only on SABC2.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
The Cottagers are confident they will control the tempo at home and move the ball with purpose.
And now's a chance for Raul. Is that hand it's in the net? Raul Jimenez has done it again.
Meanwhile, the Hammers arrive with power, pace and extra edge to conquer the London derby.
Going ball in towards Sojek! It's Thomas Sojek for West Ham United, not long after half-time.
This is the Premier League. Be part of the derby that never disappoints. Fulham FC versus West Ham United on Wednesday, 4 March at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, so we've been encouraging South Africans who happen to be listening to the show from elsewhere in the world, in particular in that Gulf region, right? living through these extraordinary events and basically just concerned about their own safety, some trying to get back to South Africa and witnessing firsthand what is happening. Tobiles Kosana is one such South African and joins us now from Qatar. Good morning to you. And I don't even know where to start. In your own words, just describe to us the situation you are in at the moment and how it evolved. I understand you are based there. Are you based there permanently, or were you traveling or transiting?
I am based here permanently. I started working here early December. So the situation now it's bad. It was better, but now it's bad because we just heard 3 bombs and there are military flights all over. We don't know what's going on.
Take me to that moment, the first time you heard these explosions. What did you think? What happened? And did you have an understanding of what was happening?
The first time this happening, I didn't understand anything. I was not in fear because I was at work. Then they, by the time I got scared. It was the time when my phone was ringing and alerting me about the international alert that we should be at home, not go anywhere. And then at work they call a meeting to give us clarity because it's our first time. Most of us, it is our first time experiencing this.
After that, yeah. So sorry, please go ahead. After that,
it started changing outside. The air that we are inhaling started being something else, toxic.
So there's a smell in the air that you can smell. What does it smell like?
It smells like burning tires.
Sure.
Yes.
And then when these explosions happen, what do you see in the skies, Tobile?
We see the bubbles. If it's at the night, we see the fire, like something like a fire on top. But if during the day, it's like the line drawing, then the bubbles. Yes.
And in terms of what you know of the security situation from what you've heard and maybe read in the local media, is this part of the air defense systems and attempts to shoot down some of these missiles and drones?
Yes.
Just also tell me about what you do at that moment when that is happening. Do you go, are there shelters for you to go into, or do you just run to the parking lot or open spaces and avoid being inside buildings? It must be hard for you to even fall asleep then in that situation.
We were told to stay inside the house. Even now I'm inside the house. I'm not going to work.
And are you in Doha?
Yes, in Doha, Al-Wakra.
And how worried are you about where these missiles and drones seem to be targeted? We've seen a few videos that show some fragments dropping even in residential areas, but we are told that the targets are military targets. Are you worried about that, some going astray and landing up in residential areas?
Yes, I'm so worried because there are people who are affected by this.
And what's on your mind? Yeah, sorry, to continue.
Some people are in hospitals, so I'm so worried. Yes.
And right now, what's your thinking? Are you thinking of trying to get out of the country and coming to South Africa? That must be hard as well because the airspace is closed.
Yes. So once they are open, I will book my flight and go back home because I also have other South Africans here. They were traveling, they were connecting here in Doha. So this thing happened while they were here.
So you've now gathered together in one space?
Yes, they came to my house because they don't have a place to stay and hotels are very expensive.
And how many South Africans are we talking about that are sheltering with you right now?
3. 2, they are coming from South Korea and 1 is coming from South Africa to another country.
Sure. Wow. That is a really difficult situation. Just through our medium, if you would like to send a message home for people listening and just describe and say and tell them how you are doing at the moment and what you are hoping for in the coming days.
At the moment, I'm so scared, praying for praying for a better situation so that airport can open and go home. I'm so scared because this thing will keep on going on. Now, 5 minutes ago, I just received the national alert again.
And just tell me about the
And-
assistance. Yeah. Sorry?
And what? Tell you about?
The assistance. Are you getting any assistance from South African officials, international relations, the embassy, and consulate offices and the likes?
No. I got the link that we can register to and the numbers for the person we can call, but they are not working. The number is busy, the link is invalid.
Sure. All right, Tobile, thank you for talking to us under these difficult circumstances. We'll keep in touch, as best as we can. I suppose that's all we can do at the moment, and perhaps we can talk to the other South Africans who are with you at some point. That's Tobiles Kosana. You heard directly from her. She's in Qatar, in Doha, and caught up in that situation. Let's take a traffic update from Rob.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, good morning. It's pretty hectic across Gauteng. It's back to work Monday, first Monday of a new week, always bigger volumes, and you can see that playing out this morning. And, of course, it's all being hampered by wet weather conditions. So wherever you're going, it's absolutely jam-packed. Haven't seen the highways around Gauteng as fully loaded as they are this morning for quite some time. And if you were in the shopping centres yesterday, you'd probably understand how busy that was. It's less transpired onto the roads or transposed onto the roads this morning. So early in the month, it just is really busy in terms of economic activity. You can see it on the N12 from Pitfontein all the way through to R24 from the airport, all the way into Galulis, N3 and 12 options, Germiston, Alberton, all the way up into Galulis. Very heavy backlogs there. Mike 1, Goldreef City or Monde territory, right through to about Corlett Drive. That's heavy. Traffic all over the M1 from Soweto right round to Buccleuch interchange this morning, and a turn up towards Midrand. There's a breakdown on that N1 North going up into Midrand. The N14 heavily backed up into Bruckfontein. N1 South this morning. Listen to this, right? Coming out of Pretoria, there is literally traffic from Montana all the way down through the rain, through a couple of obstructions, right down to Bruckfontein interchange. Very hectic, and motorists have been stuck for some time on the mighty Mopani Highway, leaving Shoshanguve into a crash at XX. Some people saying they've been stuck there since 6:15, moving very slowly. Durban, pretty hectic conditions as well. The N2 North up through Spaghetti Junction, heavy. Southbound, there's a couple of breakdowns coming into Spaghetti, so that's slow. M13 approaching the Hillcrest off-ramp, arriving from Kloof is busy, and Hillcrest into Kloof down Fields Hill, very slow as well. Cape Town, heavy pressure just north of the airport. Robert Sobukwe, Stellenbosch Arterial, 35th Avenue, all jammed up. And a crash driving in near Kiel-Basson Drive at Parow. That's pushing a big queue on the M1 back as far as Durban Road in the Belleville area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
In 2025, Liberty paid out 48 million rand in education cover claims to 755 families, meaning...
So many kids still went to school?
Correct.
Even when the dog ate their homework?
Yep.
What if it rained so hard that even fish needed raincoats?
School's still on.
But why?
Because there's no negotiation when it comes to protecting your child's tomorrow, even if you become disabled or pass away. Get education cover today. Liberty, in it with you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. T's and C's, risks and limitations apply.
The Cottagers are confident they will control the tempo at home and move the ball with purpose.
And there's a chance for Raul. Is that hand voice in the net? Raul Jimenez has done it again.
Meanwhile, the Hammers arrive with power, pace and extra edge to conquer the London derby.
Going forward towards Sojek! It's Thomas Sojek for West Ham United, not long after half-time.
This is the Premier League. Be part of the derby that never disappoints. Fulham FC versus West Ham United on Wednesday, 4 March at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Proud of your negotiation skills? Prouder that your car is paid off? Well, with Outsurance Essential Car Insurance, you could be saving too. 46-year-old Guguletu pays only 420 Rand a month for her 2006 Hyundai Atos, and her claims are paid in cash within 5 working days. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today. for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS car to 43185. That's car to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Right, let me take more of your voice notes. Let me just start. Most of them really have to do with the situation in Iran and the broader Gulf region. So let me just play them back to back.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners. Thulasizwe, only 3 American people are very important to the United States President Donald Trump regarding the war, not considering the children and the women who were killed in this recently war. Only 3 American people are very important to him. Wow, what kind of leadership are we having in the world? Brandma by Project, and thanks for the great show.
Morning, Thulas. It's Loisa here. Thulas, I struggle to understand what is America going to gain in this war. And number 2, because America is too far from Iran, therefore the only way that Iran can retaliate is to hit American bases that are nearby, because that's the only way they cannot reach America. It's too far. Therefore, I struggle to understand UAE when they say if Iran persists on hitting American bases in its territory, they are going to retaliate. What is Iran supposed to do? Because they have been attacked by America. Therefore, the only way Iran can retaliate is to hit anyone from America who's nearby. Bye, Thulas. It's Loiso here. Let's see where this war ends.
Yeah, let's see where it ends, really. It brings about a whole lot of complexities, especially even at international law, right? Violations of territory on both sides. An attack on Iran by the United States and Iran, what response does that evoke, and what are the justifications at international law? The rights to self-defense, how does that come about? But also for these Gulf states that we're talking about, many of them are framing it along those lines to say when you violate our territorial space, you invoke and actually make it possible for us to respond within the parameters of international law. It's all very complex. Yeah, let's see how it plays itself out over the coming days. Let's go to N. Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, oil prices rise sharply after Iran attacks and the multi-million rand asbestos case back in court. Good morning. Energy markets opened in Asia this morning with oil prices at their highest for months following US and Israeli attacks on Iran and Iranian retaliation. At its highest, Brent crude, the international benchmark for crude oil, rose to just over $82 a barrel before falling back to just above $79, up almost 9%. The BBC's Nick Marsh has the details.
The reason for the initial spike is clear. You've got the Strait of Hormuz, through which millions of barrels of oil pass through, effectively becoming a no-go zone overnight. The reason for the easing, possibly it's traders maybe just taking a breath, realizing that there was a general oversupply in the oil market before these developments anyway, other major oil producers stepping up their output.
Meanwhile, the SACP has urged government to condemn the actions of the US and Israel. Party national spokesperson Mbulelo Mantlana.
What is going on in Israel and the Middle East more generally
what was happening in Palestine and therefore what is happening in Iran now. All those conflicts are connected and they have one thing in common, and that is the advancement of the American interest in that region. So as far as we're concerned, the South African position should be to resist rather than to plead for the actions of the American government and the Israeli government in Iraq. This is a statement about our positioning as South Africa as a country that resists and stands against imperialism and imposition of the Western interests in the countries of the Global South.
The 18 accused in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal scandal are expected to return to the Free State High Court for another pre-trial hearing today. The High Court is expected to set another date for a trial after it dismissed former Free State Premier Ace Magashule's former personal assistant Muruwadi Cholota's application that challenged its jurisdiction. The court is expected to confirm the accused's legal representation and overall defence state of readiness. In the last appearance, Judge Philip Lopsher expressed concern over the delays.
I am much concerned about the predicament of the other accused in this case. On a personal level and also on a financial level, I assume that all delays and all postponements are hitting them below the belt. And we must try and avoid any unnecessary postponements and try to come to their aid in those respects.
A new witness is expected to take the stand this morning at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa following allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi last year. Mkhwanazi accused some SAPS officials of colluding with criminal syndicates. He also accused the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, of unlawfully disbanding the political Killing Stars team. Sibahle Mota reports.
The Madlanga Commission continues under Phase 2 of its public hearings. Those who have been implicated under Phase 1 are now before the Commission responding to the allegations. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, General Sharik Sibiya, are among those who have testified before the Commission. Mchunu has been accused of unlawfully disbanding the political Killing Stars team, while General Sibiya has been accused of being in bed with members of the alleged criminal cartel. Both have since denied corruption allegations made against them.
And finally, the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services has urged road users to exercise caution due to persistent rainfall across the city. Residents are advised to obey road traffic signs, reduce speed and maintain a safe following distance. Pedestrians are also cautioned to look out for oncoming traffic when crossing streets. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulahodzi says emergency teams are on standby to respond to any incidents.
Our side is the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services, together with our specialized team which responds to water-related emergencies, our Swift Water Rescue Unit. We remain on high alert, monitoring all 7 regions of the city for any emergencies which might occur. Our residents are encouraged to call our Emergency Management Services Command and Control Center on 011-375-5911 for any life-threatening emergencies.
Recapping the top story, energy markets opened in Asia this morning with oil prices at their highest for months following US and Israeli attacks on Iran and Iranian retaliation. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Proud of your price skills? Prouder that your car is paid off? Well, with Outsurance Essential car insurance, you could be saving too. 63-year-old Modisa pays only 344 rand a month for his 2012 Chevrolet Cruze, and his claims are paid in cash within only 5 working days. Get Outsurance Essential car insurance today. For unfinanced cars, older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS car to 43185. That's car to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's cricket. The Proteas to face New Zealand in the T20 World Cup semi-final showdown in Kolkata, and that's on Wednesday. And we also bring you good news in rugby. The Lions have secured the SA Shield for the first time in the URC era. All the details around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Hey, listen, this is very serious. If you haven't left home across Gauteng and you think about leaving normal time, you're going to get caught out. The roads are very, very busy. We've been saying since about 5:30 this morning to make sure you're going nice and early. It really is chaotic. Give you an idea of just how bad it is. Coming out of Pretoria, you'll literally see traffic across all lanes from Montana, from Sefaka Makato, all the way down, right through to the Brakfontein interchange, bottom of Centurion. It's heavy this morning, and that is just sort of replicated across all the highways. The N12 in from Benoni is standing from Benoni right through to Galulis, R24 from the airport into Galulis, Mike 1 from Boysons right through to Santon, Mike 1 south from Allendale, N1 right through to about sort of Parktown area, N1 full of traffic, Soweto round to Ravonia. It's just like that all over. N3 starts to queue from Reading interchange all the way up into Galulis interchange. N17 from Wadeville getting through Gosforth Plaza, big queues there through some roadworks and the rain as well. Durban pretty busy. M13 from Hillcrest into Kloof and downfield till slow but easing. M13 going out to Old Main Road from Maytime Stores, quite busy as well. Breakdown on the N2 North going up into the Gateway interchange, very slow. And there's some big traffic on the M4, the Southern Freeway this morning, as you line up into that sort of Rochba and Clarewood area. Across into Cape Town, fairly busy on the N1 inbound with a crash at Hill-Basson, pushing traffic back towards Plattercliff Hill territory. R300 North is a mission to get up from Cales River through to the N1 highway. And a crash on M7, Jake Skerville leaving Mitchell's Plain at Govan and Becky, causing some delays. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's coming up to 10 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Monday. It is great to be in your company. Do pay attention to what Rob was reporting in terms of the road conditions, especially in Gauteng. It's raining. It was raining earlier on, at least. I can't see outside right now, but from what he's reporting, the roads are wet and slippery. So do take care as you drive and you make your way to your destinations this morning. Let me get to some of your messages. Someone says, Thulas, you don't want peace. You are rubbing salt in the wound. We're lost against pirates. So pie as in pie, rats, you know how they spell it. And then sending a lot of crying emojis. That's Jack in Polokwane. And then earlier on I was grappling with what's the expression now, because Sweden has joined NATO and the traditional expression is that you are as neutral as Sweden. And William helping me out and saying as neutral as Switzerland, because at least until now, Switzerland officially maintains its neutrality. But it just doesn't have that, it doesn't roll off the tongue like as neutral as Sweden. I don't know. I'll have to find something else. And then someone else says, just listened to the caller stuck in Doha. That's Tobiles Kosana that we spoke to just before 8 o'clock. And then asking which country is attacking Qatar. Well, it's Iran in retaliation for the attacks launched by Israel and the United States. They are saying they are targeting armed installations and bases in various countries across the Gulf region. But indeed, we've seen video and footage and some pictures that show fragments of missiles and the likes landing in residential and commercial areas. So we've seen some of that also happening. Let me read this message. Pumzile Ntombela in Hammersdale says, Hi Thulas, I share the listeners' sentiments about the episode on Gugompo. The explanation provided by your guest last month didn't quite resonate with me, and I was hoping for a more in-depth discussion. Aye, andizi, the sound of the river, oti gompo, gompo, gompo. Aye, maybe ngesixhosa uyasho ke, but asante sana, says Phumzile Ntombela. Is not make sure as far as Phumzile is concerned about that gugompo city. I suppose we must give the people what the people want. Phumzile is not the only one to say, come back with a better story around Gugompo City. We may need to revisit that. Let's keep the conversation going. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. In a moment, we'll give you a roundup of what has happened over the past weekend in the Middle East.
Tired of paying more than you need for your car insurance? Jason, a 45-year-old OutSurance client, is saving big on his 2025 Hyundai i10.
That's true. OutSurance, they saved me an incredible 520 rand.
And if you're claim-free for 3 years, you get an out bonus.
More and more and more out.
How much could OutSurance save you on your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Saving so much every month, around 640 rand.
That's right. 27-year-old Liam saves an unbelievable 640 rand a month on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Enjoy benefits like panic assistance, which sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you are. Get a quote now and see how much OutSurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. Beloved.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
So lots of developments happening over the last 48 hours or so in the region, the Gulf region, starting in Iran and then spilling over to a number of countries. Let's bring you a roundup of what has happened thus far with the BBC's Jeremy Bowen.
Tehran is being hammered for a second night. The Americans and the Israelis are pushing hard to exploit any Iranian weakness or confusion after the killing of their supreme leader. The message is that they dominate the skies and there's no place to hide. Back in the US, Donald Trump told the regime to capitulate or else.
We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country.
And in Tehran, a strike hit the headquarters of the state broadcasting company. The Gandhi Hospital in North Tehran and 3 residential buildings next to it were badly damaged. Unless they're being used as military positions, the laws of war say hospitals are protected places. This incubator pushed out into the street seems to have a baby in it. In a city under attack, thousands of supporters of the regime gathered for the first of 40 days of mourning for the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The regime retains a solid base of support despite the recent mass protests. His killing is a huge blow for regime loyalists and a seismic moment in this war, but it doesn't necessarily mean the end of the regime. Its founders nearly 50 years ago designed its institutions to survive wars and assassinations. It is not a one-man show. Iran is extending the war into the Gulf. 2 weeks ago, it released video of naval commandos practicing blockading the vital sea lane through the Strait of Hormuz. And now they're doing it for real. Stopping oil exports from the Gulf longer term would cause global economic damage. In peacetime, around 1/5 of world oil supplies, 20 million barrels a day, are shipped out of the Gulf through Hormuz. The shipping lanes are only 10 kilometers wide at their narrowest point. This burning tanker is believed to be used for Iranian exports. The US Navy is hitting back. In Tehran and other cities, some Iranians dared to celebrate Khamenei's death. Killing the Ayatollah strips the war to its essentials. On one side, Donald Trump's belief that US and Israeli air power and assassinations will clear the way for the regime's opponents to seize power. And on the other, the resilience of the regime. This is Israeli military video of another strike at a base in Tehran. It's now clear what this war is all about for Israel and the US, regime change imposed by air power, something never done before. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "This combined effort allows us to do what I've hoped to achieve for 40 years, to crush the regime of terror completely. That's my promise," he said, and this is what is going to happen. Salvage operations continue at the girls' school in southern Iran, destroyed in an airstrike on day one of the bombing. Iranian officials now say 153 were killed here, including many schoolgirls.
The world must know the truth. This is a child's textbook. The children are buried beneath the rubble, and they were all civilians. They came here for school this morning.
The US has not eased up its bombing campaign. While this was going on, Donald Trump told the US magazine The Atlantic that Iran's surviving leaders want to talk and that he's agreed. But they were talking before the US and Israel attacked them too. All day Tehran was under fire. Iran cannot match American and Israeli firepower, but it might not need to. Iran can fight back, it is not facing a ground invasion, and victory for the regime means the survival of the Islamic Republic, no matter who the US and Israel kill. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News.
All right, so we thought we'd play that just to give you a fuller roundup of what has transpired as we interpret these extraordinary developments that have been taking place right before our eyes, shaping the world as we know it. In a moment, I'll be talking to Fundis Tebe, who is Chief Operations Officer at Sizakaya Holdings, and we'll be talking about the preparations for Sizakaya to take over the running of the National Lottery. That's coming up in June, at the start of June this year. So preparations, we're told, already underway, and there is no turning back. That conversation coming up in a moment.
Get Spar super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Like 80-gram Cadbury chocolate slabs, excluding bubbly. Buy any two for 34, save 14 Rand. Or 2-litre Coca-Cola regular only. Buy two for 45, save 11 Rand. Now that's super savings. Prices valid from the 23rd of February till 8 March, while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
It's all about meat-free meals on Color Your Plate this Sunday evening at 7. 4 contestants compete to prove that a midweek family meal can be hearty, nutritious, and full of flavor, even without the meat. With a steering from a previous season watching closely as guest judge, the stakes are high. Who will earn their approval and cook alongside them in the next round? Find out on Color Your Plate Sundays at 7 p.m. Repeat Saturdays at 4:30, only on SABC2.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
21 minutes after 8. Credit to the reporting of Sowetan and their In the Know podcast hosted by Sibonga Gonke Shoba. The country's multi-billion rand national lottery is on the brink of a major transition, and the man set to take over says there is no turning back. Businessman Sandile Zungu insists his consortium, Sizekaya Holdings, will assume control of the 8-year license on June the 1st, declaring nothing will stop us. Despite months of controversy and legal challenges, the handover follows a bruising bidding process that drew scrutiny from investigative journalists, court battles from the outgoing operator, and political questions about alleged links to Deputy President Paul Mashatile, allegations that have been denied. Let's speak to Fundisi Tebe, who is Chief Operations Officer at Sizekaya Holdings. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. And I saw that piece, that podcast, and watched with keen interest. What is the essence of the message after a number of these court challenges, in particular the one by Ituba, was decided upon in the courts? What does this mean for your preparations to take over the running of the National Lottery?
Top of the morning, Thulas, and thank you so much for having me on the morning brief. I think what's important is, as we stand here today, daunting as it sounds, that we're 90 days from day one. It's 90 days until 1 June, and Sizekaya is very clear, and echoing our shareholder Sandile Zungu's podcast that you've just quoted, that we are ready for the transition. We've been working extremely hard and extremely diligently in the background to ensure that on the 1st of June, South Africans experience a revived lottery offering, an amazing experience in terms of what's to come from a product offering, from a jackpots offering, multiple innovations that we've put forward to us. But most importantly, I think what's important for just the South African that is looking forward to this is making sure that the lottery continues, uninterrupted, seamlessly, and I can guarantee them definitely a better experience. So the team is ready. Hashtag Asijigi, and like I say, 90 days and counting down to ensure that we are rolling out terminals to the myriad of retailers that are going to be offering the lottery, that we are integrating with our banking partners. And what's interesting is we can guarantee that we are bringing the lottery in more ways, in more avenues, in more channels, so that South Africans can feel broader part of this lottery offering as we start in 2026, 1st of June.
I don't imagine that you'd want to share your trade secrets, but I guess you could give us enough by way of what are some of the functions and features that are currently in the lottery system that you've identified and said perhaps these will need tweaking and upgrade and enhancement here or there.
So I think, for example, let's start with just the availability of, the retailer, or let's call it the terminals. So we are implementing a lot more terminals across the South African retail footprint, which means that the South African player that wants to play the lottery, one, will have more and better accessibility from a retail footprint. But over and above that, we've signed up more banks in terms of integrating. So banking customers will be able to, a far broader population will now be able to access banking apps and access their lottery offerings through the banking apps. And I think what's quite important as well is we've partnered with, smaller SMEs around, townships and the rural areas to increase that reach. So you'll be able to also, you don't have to go into a store, you don't necessarily have to go to the banks, but you can also play through what we call our B2B partners through, small sort of handheld devices. So I think our promise is to make it a lot more accessible to the South African population. But I think what's also important to us is not only are the jackpots going to be a little bit more exciting, we've increased ways of how we make the jackpots bigger and we make that jackpot rollout a lot less. Right now, it takes a while for people to win the jackpot. And we're saying that the jackpots are going to be bigger and they're going to be more accessible than previously. And then lastly, I think the big innovation for us is we're taking the lottery back live on television. For a while we had the lottery draw that was available, and it's such a moment for South African, for that collective anticipation, families and friends watching together and bringing back that transparency, excitement. and people really seeing the transparency behind what makes this lottery work and wanting to be a part of it. And I think that for us is an incredible journey that we are wanting to share with the South Africans.
But Fundi, are you being honest with yourselves when you start believing that the controversies and the challenges, the court processes are truly behind you? Because the way I understand the Ituba matter is that basically it allows you to continue with the implementation planning and processes while a review is still pending. So there's that review that's still pending, or do I have it completely wrong?
No, you're correct, Thulas. The review is certainly pending. But I think what's important is the urgent interdict was set in November, and Ituba lost that. So there's no urgency. The actual review process will still continue. And here's another fact. Every single lottery that has been awarded has always been litigated against. So whilst we are comfortable in the strength and the value proposition that we put forward in our bid, there is no stopping, there is no hesitation. It's full systems go to us because 90 days is around the corner, and our responsibility and our guarantee to the South African population is we will deliver a seamless and functioning and exciting lottery on the 1st of June, regardless of what's happening in the courts. But I think so far we've been vindicated. We won with costs, I can add. And whilst the hearing, continues later on, we're ready. 90 days from now, we have to continue.
And you believe you've done enough to take South Africans into your confidence about the allegations that started coming to the fore, I think around October last year, allegations about links between some of the shareholders in Sizekaya, Bellamont Gambling being an example, with the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, through familial ties, through his sister-in-law, Kumo Bogachu, who is said to be a co-owner of Bellamont, as well as Moses Tembe, who is said to be a close associate of the Deputy President. So the court processes are one thing, but winning South Africans and taking South Africans into your confidence about these allegations is another thing. Do you think you've done enough of the latter?
Absolutely, Thulas. I think unequivocally we have followed the Lotteries Act of 1997 to the T, and it contains very, very clear rules regarding political involvement. And we are very clear that anybody that is involved with this Sizekaya operation, we have complied with the National Lotteries Act of 1997. But I think over and above that South Africans must take comfort in the fact I've already said that our proposal was a superior value proposition that we put forward, not only on innovations that I've already spoken about, user experience, but if you look at the team that's operationally involved and running this, to us, it's an incredible team. Like I say, backed by Gold Rush, which is a JC listed entity, extensive gaming presence in South Africa, and they own 50%. But the team that we've got, boasts multiple facets and experience across gaming, across lotteries, not only in South Africa, but across international jurisdictions. But I think the message for me that I want to leave with South Africans is the National Lottery, come 1 June, is in good hands. We will truly, cover what we intended to do around integrity, around trust, and we bring a solid group of individuals to the fore that will, ensure that this is a truly superior product offering that South Africans have never seen before.
Around October, the Minister of Trade Industry and Competition, Pakstau, said he had instructed the National Lotteries Commission to investigate these alleged links between the Deputy President and some of your shareholders. Have you heard from those investigators, and how have you engaged with them? What have you told them?
From our side, Thulas, we have participated transparently, fairly as part of that investigation. And like you rightly say, that this is the mandate of the Minister of DTI as well as the NLC, and we will be guided by them on the outcomes when they're ready to announce that and any findings. But I'm quite confident that the one finding is we're continuing. Nothing is stopping us. 1 June, we're very clear on what we need to deliver to South Africans.
Fundi, I'm completely out of time, but I do want to return to the theme and some of the themes you raised in the first few responses you gave in this conversation about, the excitement returning, etc. The backdrop for the time at which you are taking over the running of the national lottery is that we are sitting with a pretty serious gambling harms problem. Not gambling itself, but gambling harms and irresponsible gambling. And the critique that says that there's a lot of enticement out there, that you know, the activities of operators don't take into account some of the harms that are increasingly being reported. How are you factoring that in?
So I think just as a start, it would be very irresponsible of us as Sizakaya to say that we are, you know, aware and not cognizant of exactly what's happening in the landscape of. By the way, it's not just South Africa. You know, in my previous experience, I was in you know, gaming and pool operations. This is an international phenomenon that we're all grasping with. But I think what's important is I mentioned that, you know, with the backing and a partnership of a partner like Gold Rush that is embedded in governance, that is embedded in player protection, we are fairly confident that with some of our own enhancements, that, you know, we will safeguard and make sure that we do our part as a national lottery to protect players and to ensure the integrity that, you know, there's no overexposure. But, you know, I keep on saying that, Thulas, this is a multifaceted discussion.
Yeah.
It goes against multiple legislations that need to be fixed. It goes into illegal betting, that space that needs to be tackled. But like I say, from a Sizakaya perspective, we're very clear. We've got the checks and balances, and we've got the commitment from us to ensure that the lottery players are protected and always at the fore of what we offer.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. Fundis Tebe is Chief Operations Officer at Sizakaya Holdings. I mean, SAFM. I am so late for the news. I don't even know what to say. And
good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the Iranian embassy in South Africa has committed to work together with the Department of International Relations to assist South Africans in Iran. This follows strikes by the US and Israel on Iran and the killing of the country's supreme leader over the weekend. The South African National Defence Union is demanding accountability after the Financial Sector Conduct Authority completed an investigation into the alleged misappropriation of 50 million rand from a fund meant to support South African soldiers. And the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamoloko Kubai will today lead the national launch of the 30-year anniversary of the Constitution signing into law. The event at the Johannesburg Apartheid Museum will also launch Human Rights Month. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, since 5:30 this morning, we've been advising you wherever you are across the country to go early. It's always hectic on the first Monday of a brand new week, and it plays out like that exactly this morning. A couple of big issues. Let's get you up to speed with them, and here's the ones to avoid, if you like, if possible. The N1 South coming out of Montana. You'll join traffic from just south of Sefaka-Makato, and you'll sit in that traffic all the way past a couple of crashes, a couple of breakdowns, all the way down to about Buerta Avenue. It's very, very slow on that section of the M1 South. The M1 North in Joburg from Beyers Nordia up towards Buccleuch is slow. The problem getting through Buccleuch, turning up to a breakdown on your way towards Allendale Road. So that's why it's so heavy on that N1 Northern bypass, if you like. N12 starting to ease, but still hectic from Boksburg all the way to a crash scene before Galuli's. M2 coming into Benrose from Germiston side this morning through Heldnace and on your way towards Joburg. Very big delays there through Cleveland and Denver area. And the N3 North, if you want to get onto it, you'll join sitting through that tunnel on the R59 North onto the N12 at Reading Interchange, up to Elands Interchange, and then all the way to that Heldnace exit. A couple of collisions and breakdowns around that scene as well. Durban side also being quite busy, although it is easing. There's a bit of pressure on the N3 in towards Pavilion Mall. There's a breakdown on the N2 before Gateway. That's heavy. Lined up traffic through Queen Dundee Drive, and a crash on the M4 near Virginia Airport. If you're inbound from Mshlanga, that's very heavy on your way to Durban. Cape Town, a crash coming out of Mitchell's Plain on the M7 at Govan and Becky, holding you up towards the Philippi area, and the N1 inbound with a crash at Hilbersson at Parow. That's pushed a queue right back to the R300 in the Brackenfell area. That R300 north to get into the N1 fairly heavy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
A nail-biting finish against Zimbabwe sets the stage for the T20 World Cup semi-final against rivals New Zealand, does it?
Good morning, Thulas. Absolutely. That just summed it up there. This Proteas are making things very expensive for us. No more nail biting like we've done in the past. So, yes, Thulas, if Zimbabwe was that stress test, New Zealand is the final exam, and the Proteas are gearing up for the business end. They take on New Zealand in the first semi-final in Kolkata Wednesday at 3:30. The unbeaten Proteas top their Super 8 group and will look to captain Aidan Markram and inform Quinton de Kock to fire again. Coach Shukri Conrad says that we came close to winning the World Cup the last time around but fell short to India in that final in Barbados. He believes his players are better for that experience.
Obviously, the guys are richer for that experience. They'd have learned so much about themselves. And Aidan has been fantastic, both with bat in hand, as you mentioned, and as a leader as well as a captain. But you're only as good as your troops, and he'd be the first one to admit that. So it's easy to captain a bowling unit that's on top of their game and batters that are firing. But Aidan's, he's been at the forefront of all of everything that we do. I think our experience in the last T20 World Cup will stand us in good stead. And again, when you keep making semi-finals and finals, and I've said this many a time previously, if you continually make semi-finals and finals, eventually you're going to win one.
On to women's cricket, and Pakistan ended their ICC Champions ODI series on a high with a commanding 119-run win over South Africa in Durban. Let's go to women's soccer. Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis says she's proud of her team despite going down in the final of the COSAFA Women's Championship to Namibia 2-1. Banyana coach saying she's drawing from the tournament and saying that selecting the final squad now for the upcoming Women's Africa Cup of Nations will be a tough decision.
Our decision very difficult, and that's what we want, a difficult decision. But say thank you to the crowd as well. They were magnificent and tried to lift us. But I want to congratulate Namibia. They took their chances, they hung in there, and they were resolute in defense.
Let's go to more soccer. The 100-day countdown to the expanded 2026 FIFA World Cup begins tomorrow. For the first time, 48 teams will compete across the United States, Canada, and Mexico in a record 104 matches. The tournament kicks off on the 11th of June at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico and concludes on the 19th of July in New Jersey. SABC will broadcast the World Cup live across S3, SABC Plus, and SABC Radio. Rugby now, the Lions have secured the SA Shield for the first time in the URC era after a 24-10 derby victory over the Stormers at Ellis Park. The result, combined with the Bulls' win over the Sharks, confirmed the Joburg side as the top South African team in this season's local derbies. Golf Australia's Hannah Green secured her second HSBC Women's World Championship title in Singapore, winning by a single stroke after a composed final round 69. It marks her seventh Ladies PGA title. And finally, athletics. The world number one, Brenda Chipchirchir, claimed her maiden ABSA Run Your City Gqeberha 10-kilometer title in windy conditions, clocking 30 minutes and 15 seconds. The Kenyan star says she plans to return for the Cape Town leg in May. That's your sport. We'll be running out of here with bringing you more around 12:30. That's John Hediker. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with news out of telecoms. Tell me about MTN Nigeria. Returning to profit. They've seen some difficult times, haven't they? So they're now returning to profit. Yeah.
I mean, last year was a really important year for MTN Nigeria, where we saw
the naira coming under control on the back of a stronger dollar. So that managed to help out MTN Nigeria. There was also a tariff hike, if I'm not mistaken, that also played a role in the group bouncing back into profitability. Now, the biggest markets they are returning, of course, to profitability and resuming dividend payments, marking a turnaround for MTN Nigeria. After posting a loss the year before, the business swung back to a 1.1 trillion naira profit as currency pressures eased and Nigeria's macro environment stabilized. I must say, the naira will rock you, because what do you mean 1.1 trillion naira profit? But anyway, service.
Wena, you're being controversial.
Okay,
I'm not showing up for that invite.
I'm continuing. I'm continuing,
Continue.
right?
Yes.
So we saw service revenue climbing 55%, while EBITDA more than doubled, pointing to a recovery in margins and cash generation. Operationally, momentum remains strong. Subscribers rose to 87.3 million, with active data users above 53 million. Now, data traffic surged 34%, highlighting sustained demand for connectivity in the country. For the broader group, Nigeria's recovery is quite important, strengthening the balance sheet, restoring free cash flow, and reinforcing confidence that its largest market is back on solid footing.
The funny thing is, I'm the one who's always inviting you to controversies.
Exactly.
This time around, you invite me and I say, you say, and this. Tell me about Vukile continuing to bet on Spain.
So, Vukile Property Fund has struck its largest deal to date, acquiring Islasul shopping center in Madrid for about 318 million euros, which marks its first direct entry into the Spanish capital. Now, the deal, concluded through its Spanish subsidiary, Castellana, gives Vukile a foothold in what CEO Lawrence Rapp describes as Spain's economic powerhouse. Islasul ranks among the country's top 10 malls and carries the highest global BREEAM sustainability rating. That is, the asset is fully funded from existing cash resources. Importantly, the transaction is earnings accretive and won't affect Vukile's 2026 forecast. For Vukile, the move deepens its Iberian expansion at scale in a prime Madrid catchment and strengthens its platform in a key European growth market.
Lastly, Dowling, what are our expectations in the markets this morning?
So the JSE is set for a mixed start as precious metals tick higher, but uncertainty lingers over whether gains will spread across the broader market amid geopolitical tensions. It's a busy day in terms of company news, with earnings reports from Bidfest, Italtile, and RCL Foods, so lots to digest at the open. Over in currencies, the rand is on the back foot this morning. It's sitting at 16.15 to the dollar, 21.62 to the pound, and 18.97 to the euro. Meanwhile, oil continues to trade higher on supply concerns in the Middle East as tensions between Iran and the US escalates. Crude trading just under $77 a barrel this hour. And those are geopolitical issues weighing on equities, with US futures and Asian markets in negative territory.
Dowling, thank you for that. Let's talk again tomorrow. That's Dowling Lechela there, having kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
Using Scholar Transport comes with responsibilities. Every learner has a role to play in keeping themselves, their friends, and the driver safe. Stay seated and behave responsibly. Avoid shouting, pushing, standing, or moving around inside the vehicle at any time. Think safety first. Remember that safety starts before the journey begins and continues until you are safely off the road. Good behavior saves lives. Your actions matter. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
This February, love the truth, no matter how unsettling it is. They were called accidents, a slip, a fall, a tragic mistake. But what if they weren't? Fatal fall, murder or accident, investigate suspicious deaths. From balconies, staircases and cliffs. Where one question refuses to go away. Did someone push them? Through forensic science and haunting testimony, the truth is uncovered. Fatal fall, murder or accident. Tuesdays 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Without insurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding the last parking spot at the mall. 45-year-old Jason saves an unbelievable 520 Rand on his 2025 Hyundai i10. Get a quote now, and if OutSurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. OutSurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Keeping an eye on this one for the last 40 minutes or so. A crash going into Joburg near Benrose. So if you're coming off the M3 highway at Heldenace, getting into Joburg using the M2, or you want to get out of Germiston off sort of Refinery onto the M2, it's all very heavily backed up. Big queues on Refinery, just getting up to the M2 and then all the way through Cleveland, Denver and into that Benrose area. Look for alternative routes. The N3, pretty heavy up to that M2 exit at Heldenace, and then queues continue through to Van Buren Road. N12, R24 routes remain heavy, getting into Galulis after an earlier crash. The N12 backs up to Jet Park, so that is a heavy queue to get through there. Crash after Modderfontein on the N3 going north, so some more problems through Edenvale, and pretty heavy on the N3 and N1 routes getting through Buccleuch for a turn onto the N1 north up to Allendale after an earlier collision scene there as well. Still plenty of traffic coming out of Pretoria. The N1 this morning from Stormful right down to Botha Avenue is absolutely jam-packed. Wet weather, a couple of breakdowns and some crash scenes earlier, not helping matters. It really is a very busy run leaving Pretoria today. Durban N2 going north, a breakdown still with us in the roadworks before Gateway. It's a heavy queue from just after Inunda Road, between Inunda and Queen Nundies, where you'll see the queue, and you don't get out of that until you get up past the Gateway. The M4 North is a good option out of Durban. The M4 South, not such a good option. A crash at Blue Lagoon, so coming from Mshlanga. That's very heavy. Cape Town, still pretty jam-packed on the N1 inbound after an earlier crash at Hill Basson Drive in the Parow area. Traffic backed all the way through to the R300. The R300 queuing to get into the N1, and then the N1 right through to that scene at Parow, and then continues down to Sable Road. And then you pick up another queue from the Kuberg interchange through to the city centre area. So very busy along the N1 corridor. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
All Scholar Transport operators are required to comply with the following mandatory requirements. All required licenses and certificates must be renewed annually for minibus taxis and biannually for buses in accordance with applicable regulations. Overloaded, unroadworthy, or unlicensed vehicles will be impounded without exception. Every vehicle must be equipped with an appropriate and fully stocked first aid kit at all times. Routine safety inspections are compulsory for all vehicles providing Scholar Transport services. Compliance with these requirements is non-negotiable and is enforced to safeguard the lives of learners and all road users. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
10 minutes to 9. Credit to the reporting of Begisisa Center for Health Journalism on this next story. Nearly 3 decades after he first disclosed that he was living with HIV, former Constitutional Court Justice Edwin Cameron is now reflecting on what it has meant to survive and age with a virus that once carried a near-certain death sentence. In candid remarks about his health, Cameron speaks not only about receiving some of the earliest antiretroviral treatment available in the country, but about the unexpected reality of confronting non-communicable diseases despite a disciplined, physically active lifestyle. His experience, he suggests, is becoming a crucial case study for scientists studying the first generation of people aging with HIV, those whose lives were prolonged by ARVs, but whose long-term health trajectories are only now fully coming into focus. Justice Cameron joins me now to take that conversation forward. Justice Cameron, good morning, and thank you for your time. I must say I found the conversation with Mia Malane, I believe it was, at Begisisa, quite insightful, and just your inputs therein also really helpful. So what is the essence of what you were reflecting upon there? We've come to a point where South Africa is one of those countries, is the country with what is said to be the biggest public ARV treatment program in the world, and the tide has begun to turn in a significant way in terms of the journey from diagnosis to surviving and living with HIV. But only now are we getting to understand the data as it comes in about the first generation, which you are a part of people who are aging with HIV.
Exactly. And good morning to Thulasizwe, and a great joy to be with SAFM's listeners. There are quite a few quite simple lessons to Thulasizwe. The first is that I was infected with HIV more than 40 years ago. And that's a good news lesson for all your listeners. Not to be scared. Be careful. You don't want HIV. You don't want high blood pressure. You don't want diabetes. You definitely don't want to be infected with HIV. But if you are, it's not a death sentence. Mm-hmm. Second, Thulasizwe, I was very, very lucky. I started on ARVs in 1997. That's more than 28 years ago. And I'm thriving, I'm well. We'll come to the footnote on that in a moment. But the good fortune was that as a judge, I could spend a huge amount of my salary to stay alive. And that made me join Zaki Ahmad's and others' campaign to bring down the drug prices, which Zaki started, the Treatment Action Campaign, and he succeeded against the drug companies. And then the Treatment Action Campaign and COSATU and the Council of Churches had to fight denialism. They succeeded there as well. And as you've said in your intro, we now have the world's largest publicly provided ARV program. Almost 7 million people like me. This morning, an hour or two ago, I took my ARVs. I take a single tablet every day, and it's kept me virus-free. The virus is lurking, but no active virus in my body for the last 28 years. So those are all good news lessons to Thulasizwe. And the last thing I would say is that there's still so much shame and stigma. Yeah. We don't need to be ashamed. Mm-hmm. We are 7 million people on treatment. We are about 13% of our whole population. I'm working in the appeal court in Botswana right now. Mm-hmm. There's less shame in Botswana, interestingly, because President Festus Mogae here started combating stigma, and he started providing ARVs long before we did. So those are the lessons to Thulasizwe, and thanks for asking.
Yeah. And Justice Cameron, so part of what you were talking with Begisisa about has to do with the phenomenon that is now being studied by scientists around aging, having been on antiretrovirals. And there's an interesting dynamic there as well in terms of the onset of taking ARVs being a relevant factor to how much and the extent to which you will be affected by these non-communicable diseases later in life.
Exactly. And that's another important lesson for SAFM's listeners, Thulasizwe. If you are diagnosed with HIV, start on ARVs immediately. They're cheap. Your medical insurance will cover it, or your local clinic will cover it. I was very, very, very sick. I was facing death at the end of 1997. I should have been dead many, many decades ago, which is part of why I feel a great joy in speaking to you. But the later you start on ARVs, the longer lasting is the damage that the virus inflicts on your cells. Now, because I was so severely ill, I'm experiencing the effects now. I'm 73 years old. I'm still active. I'm joyfully working, as I mentioned, here in the appeal court in Botswana. I feel very privileged to be here, but the things are catching up with me. I've had atrial fibrillation, which is a cardiac condition. I've got an eye condition. So it's small things that are showing me that my body was vulnerable those many years ago. And that's why it's an important lesson for everyone at risk of HIV to get tested and to start on ARVs immediately if you're diagnosed.
Let's talk about the decision and the conscious decision that you made to speak out and actually disclose your status at a time when, it really wasn't easy to do exactly that. I mean, you also talk to issues of stigma now, but you say there were 2 deaths that occurred that really convinced you that actually this is the thing to do if we are to start confronting the stigma around HIV.
Correct, Thulasizwe. Simon Tseko Nkodi, a young man, a young activist, anti-apartheid activist, a young gay man from Sebokeng. He died in December 1998, and he was open about his HIV. At his funeral, Zaki Ahmed started the Treatment Action Campaign. And just after Simon died of AIDS, a young woman in Umlazi Township, Gugu Dlamini, was murdered because she spoke out on the Zulu language radio station about having HIV herself. And I realized after Simon's and Gugu's death that I could no longer keep silent. I was a judge. I was living behind a palisade in my home in Brixton, and I had every protection. And both Simon and Gugu did not have the protections and the privileges that I had, and that's why I spoke out.
Lastly, Justice Cameron, I can only imagine what must have been going through your mind in the last year or so as we navigated this uncertainty around the programs and the support that they receive from international funders and donors, programs such as PEPFAR and the likes. Just tell me how you've navigated that uncertainty.
It's been a calamity for many people. Government, and this is a credit to government in the latest budget, it has provided extra funding. No one in our country will run out of ARVs. But what we are going to run out of are the programs that USAID and PEPFAR and other US-funded organizations made possible. For example, in Hillbrow, you go out, you find the sex workers, you find the youngsters, you find the people at risk of HIV. You say, come to the clinic, be tested. All of those outreaches in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, Durban, and other centers in our country have been cut off brutally, and many productive workers in HIV awareness, HIV counseling, HIV testing have been made redundant. So it's a huge setback for our efforts, but we are continuing. This has been a long struggle in our country, and we aren't daunted. We continue the struggle.
Justice Cameron, I think I can arrogate the powers to speak on behalf of many South Africans when I say we are truly proud of the role that you have played, particularly in this area, but also in our justice and the development of our constitution as well, whose 30th anniversary we mark. It's a pity for me that my admission as an attorney will come too late for me to be able to stand in front of you robed and
Congratulations, Thulasizwe. May I reciprocate my pride in you.
Thank you so much for that. That's Justice Edwin Cameron. It hasn't come yet, just for clarity, that admission, but I do say that it would have been a privilege to appear before him at some point. All right, 9 a.m. We've done enough. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your engagement. We didn't take enough of your calls, and believe you me, we'll make it up to you tomorrow and the coming days. The Talking Point with Kathy Mutlatlana is up next here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, Iran embassy vows to rescue stranded South Africans and Kuwait to launch 30-year anniversary of South Africa's constitution. Good morning. The Iranian embassy in South Africa has committed to work together with the Department of International Relations to assist South Africans in Iran. This follows strikes by the US and Israel on Iran and the killing of the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, over the weekend. Iran's ambassador to South Africa, Sayed Mustafa Daryabari, says Tehran will continue with the legacy of Ali Khamenei of fighting for the country. He says the safety of South African citizens are currently a priority.
In the midst of this turmoil, we are deeply concerned about South Africans' citizens who have found themselves in the unfortunate position of being caught between these forces. Their safety is a priority, and we are in direct communication with the officials in Iran to ensure their safe and swift return.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military says it dealt a severe blow to Iran's command and control centers in yesterday's strikes. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that the UK would now allow its bases to be used for defensive strikes. The BBC's Rob Watson has the details.
I guess the British government would say that this was an evolution in policy rather than a screeching U-turn, as some will describe it, and will argue, as Sir Keir Starmer has done in a video, that essentially it's responding to events on the ground, and in particular what he called a scorched earth policy by the Iranian regime, and that, in other words, that missile attacks in the region threaten British civilians, he said, but also threatens UK allies, UK interests, and therefore, in what he called an act of collective self-defence, the US would be allowed to use UK bases.
In other news, the South African National Defence Union is demanding accountability after the Financial Sector Conduct Authority completed an investigation into the alleged misappropriation of 50 million rand from a fund meant to support South African soldiers. The money, contributed by military personnel, was intended for life insurance, funeral policies and other benefits. The authority says it's considering its next steps. Jeff Dubazana is the chief negotiator for the South African National Defence Union.
Misappropriation of funds have been flagged. Surely the next step is for arrest to take place. Obviously, when it's flagged, there are persons that are involved in this, which as some we believe are flagged from this report. So surely, yes, there should be the next follow-up and should be the arrest of those persons that who were involved in this criminal conduct.
Two suspected illegal cigarette dealers have been arrested outside Polokwane in Limpopo. Police say the suspects were found in alleged possession of illegal cigarettes worth over 60,000 rand in a vehicle they were travelling in. Police also say one of the suspects tried to bribe the officers with 4,000 rand. The vehicle has also been confiscated. The suspects will appear in court soon. And finally, the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamuloko Kubai will today lead the national launch of the 30-year anniversary of the Constitution signing into law. The event at the Johannesburg Apartheid Museum will also launch Human Rights Month. The Constitution, which has been in effect since February 1997, reinforces South Africa's democracy, marking 3 decades of progress. South Africans for Constitutional Reform Chairperson Prince Mtombeni.
The Constitution remains one of the most significant achievements of our democracy transition. The real question at 30 is now whether it mattered, because it did. But whether it is fully delivering for citizens today, that's the question. But the Bill of Rights transformed South Africa, political and human rights, as well as equality before the law. Those gains are real and historic. But many socio-economic rights remain aspirational for millions of people. Access to quality education, housing, healthcare and safety. The lived experience does not match the constitutional promise.